They're on a car.
Oh, yeah.
We're on a high-speed chase.
They're running. Face him.
Yo, what's going on?
Crack.
What is this game?
I'm lagging.
Go to spike, Mike, on. Go down.
No, down.
Je tombe dessus, Il est sur le pad, il est mort. Go down. Chill.
Oh no, down here, bro. Three. Actually three. I down one. Doctor cracked the ball. Will you shoot the catalyst? She's down. I'm gonna throw a nade at her. One more in the corner.
Yep.
Then
He's one.
I got her.
Box,
You're dead.
box, ulting.
I got three.
Nice. Right here.
Teams out there. Last one. Last team. Nice.
Watson Fence is my king! Bronze Bonobos, they're popping in on the other end of this engagement. Seeing if they do, Molten Mania almost completely shreds a red shield, starts to make this impossible, and what an angle! Not have a lot of cover, but I believe have a little bit of low ground.
Never mind.
Play maybe a head peek, and oh my lord! It's the dreams of yet another cut short.
Again, how do you push this without putting your team in too much jeopardy? That's the question.
So few legends that can actually find you a different way up there. Horizon being one, Pathfinder being another now, but here it comes. Shinbi's already put this out, and it means that Big Smashers get to take the fight up against the two-man squad of level 4 Gucci Purse and wipe the floor with them. Along with Lane as well. I mean, LTB got a lot of competitive experience here. The thing they don't have is a ton of cover. Proficiency. Lane left wondering what the next move is going to do. Trying to push Marsh next nearly as well as the crafted Volt that Marsh has. Up goes the Catalyst Wall. It forces out the Seer ult. And Wee Poutine are going for the end here. Take the swing on Molten Mania. And yet, he gets knocked. Pergix fighting back as Wee Poutine do trade in the 1-for-1. Proton gets some good damage down with the R99. And it is enough. It is enough to push them out. The Bronze Bonobos have to drop down. Have to take this 2v2 against the Milkers. And now a chance to drop down to play this Wraith knockdown shield. They keep him down. And yet Bronze Bonobos have cover as well. 2 versus 1. And it should be their game. The Bronze Bonobos from second. Now finally find first. and gentlemen, welcome back to the TELUS Esports Series 2, where, of course, as always, myself, Dia, joined by Crackshot, are bringing you the best Apex Legends in Canada. Today, Crackshot, we have the privilege of rounding out the beginner division in their finals.
A super cool division to be able to cast with you, Dia. This is a division that we saw on broadcast a couple of times, and this is one that is very unique in the sense that a lot of these players, even more so than our previous final last week in intermediate, they don't have a chance to play in this kind of match point format, 4-week long league that TELUS is putting on here. And I'm so excited to see how these teams step up to the plate now that the pressure's on. The prizes are out for them to win. We'll see what they can do today. So excited to get into the action and see what these guys can do.
Yeah, and it's worth, before we jump into that action, thanking the sponsors, the people that make this event possible. Of course, TELUS, but alongside them, Nanoleaf, Xbox, HyperX, and Gamescom Canada that have made this competition, the whole season that's come with it, possible for players across Canada. Let's actually take a look at what that season looked like so that we can get an idea, Crackshot, of what today means, especially in contrast to the games that people have played leading into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So these teams played in, 4 weeks of 2 matches a week. So that's a lot of Apex. And there's a lot of teams in this beginner division. It was our second highest filled division in terms of participation from players. So there was a steep level of competition. And even though it is the beginner division, that's nothing to spout at with some of the teams and the talent that we saw. They were able to gain points throughout these weeks, and that's what got all 20 of these teams here today. Even one of the teams that you'll see when we pull up the scoreboard just barely squeaked in and actually made use of the tiebreaker because they were tied with another team. And again, it's just so much action that these teams have been through, the trials and tribulations to see them get here. We've got some front runners, we've got some teams that just snuck in, but ultimately when it comes into today, there are no placement points. So anybody can be getting that 50-point match point threshold and have their chance at $50,000 in prizing.
Now, there's a really interesting thing that sort of comes into play today, and that is that throughout the entire season, we've had these teams playing 3 matches at a time. In the beginner division, it was 3 on Wednesdays, 3 on Fridays, alternating maps between those days. Today, however, it's going to be possibly a whole lot more. I would say I expect a whole lot more than 3 games in a row. We are going to be starting, of course, on World's Edge with all of these 20 teams dropping there for the first 3 maps of the day until we hit Storm Point for the following 3. And this will go on as long as needed until a team becomes match point eligible, which they can do by hitting 50 points in today's games, and then subsequently winning a game to end the competition.
It is quite honestly the coolest of the BR formats, I think. Like, this is the standard. I think this is how it should always be. It's win by 2 in a BR format. It's very cool. It shows that you need to be able to play multiple different styles of games. You need to be able to be aggressive to get to that threshold ahead of your opponents, and also be conservative enough and well thought out enough, strategic enough to see yourself finish out that final game and claim the championship. It creates a super hype end game every single time. Last week we saw St. Clair College take it in the intermediate division, and wow, what a final that one was. Lots of great teams on the card today, to be honest. Mooshak in Black Ops 2 were battling it out in week 1. We see they're still battling it out at the top of the scoreboard, but there's lots of fan favorites in there. The Geriatrics got some people rooting for them. I know Junk Dog's got Tim from HR, who has become a local legend in the TELUS Esports Series division. And of course I had to shout out Rose at the bottom there, who just snuck in. They were tied with another team with 154 points, and they got in on the kill points tiebreaker. So they had more kills than the other team. They get in, they get their shot today.
And they're not the only team that just barely made it into today's games. During the last week, we also had Celebrate Our Differences pop in and who qualified in 19th, as well as 8-Pack, who actually managed to qualify their way into the top 15 teams of the day. But that's enough of that. We've talked about these squads. Let's see them in action as we drop into our very first game on World's Edge.
World's Edge, a very exciting one for us to look at. I mean, this was the one that I enjoyed watching the most last week, although it did, Storm Point had some very interesting end games. And I think once we get, in the match point context, I think it holds its own. Looking at this map, though, there was a lot of you know, push and pull with different power positions on this map, especially where we're seeing these players running around currently on the map. There's a lot of, you know, poking in buildings, sticking your head out windows. This was a cool spot for teams to be fighting for control as the zone pulled, and it's actually pulling in quite a similar way if I'm remembering correctly. It's coming down towards that bottom left-hand quadrant of the map.
Yeah, so surprisingly, you know, giving us that classic World's Edge ending that should be pulling somewhere around the thermal area. Although I will say as well that we've had a lot of mix-ups recently. The algorithm seems to have shifted of late, and it's entirely possible that we see very, very different zones than a lot of these players will have been used to. The nice thing is that I imagine, playing a lot of Apex, that several of these teams have kept track of both pro and tier 2 play around Apex Legends, so may have a better read than some others. As currently, you gotta make your way out from Overlook. Should be able to, as with ROM on the Bloodhound, the Geriatrics should be making their way into zone with relative ease.
The Geriatrics, a team again that's just they're a cult legend, you know. Now this is I love the community that TELUS Esports Series has brought us. You know, teams making friends, frenemy rivalries coming up within teams. Of course, you know, the notable one just jumps out right off the top, and that's Mushak. And is this Black Ops 2? Well, the answer to that question is this is not Black Ops 2, but they're certainly playing like it is. Lots of run and gun from those guys. They've been racking up their you know, their placement from a lot of kill points, and you kind of have to be up in that 300-point range by now.
I think if we end today's games and is this Black Ops 2 are sat somewhere in the top 3, we have to reach out to them for comment and find out whether they knew at the end. Did they figure it out? Whether it was Black Ops 2 or if it's some perhaps new game they want to try out. We did talk a lot about Mushak, and I'm glad that we get to jump on board with them. I will say, however, that I'm a little disheartened personally that they aren't running the Rampart. This was something that put them on the radar in a big way in week 1, but since then, they have certainly changed it up.
Yeah, this comp from them is it's interesting is what I'll say. They've got it works, I think, actually, in this situation. It's a good comp. Not one we're used to seeing them run, so I guess that's the interesting thing for us, right, is that we get to see how they operate. And it's very cool, especially, you know, at these, you know, levels of Apex, to see players being able to you know, flex their legend pool a little bit. I think that kind of goes, you know, it's undervalued at the lower levels of competitive Apex. You know, the players out there that can really make the most of multiple legends, that's who's going to be super beneficial for a team. And especially over a long night of Apex, you know, as we keep mentioning, this may be the first occasion that a lot of these teams jump into a match point format, right? So that said, how many of them are going to be ready for the long haul? How many of them are going to be ready to make that adjustment in terms of what they might need in a third game, a fourth game, you know, when it really starts to drag on deep into a Friday night of gaming?
What I'm really enjoying right now is that these squads are all pacing themselves. It's the slowest beginner lobby that we've seen, and already, even those that are piling in over by Big Mod are taking things slow. Seer ult just to dissuade the engagement, and be able to loot up with this low, but there's no need to fight each other, and I think all of these teams are approaching rather carefully all of these engagements, knowing that each point on your way to the 50-point threshold is of utmost importance.
It is absolutely of that importance. And I mean, we saw the same thing in Intermediate, though. The first game of the day, everybody was just getting their feet wet a little bit. It was a lot of you know, pokes and prods. It wasn't a lot of just diving on teams, although that seems to be what's happening here. Looks like Unmuzzled wants to get kind of close into this action. He's only about 50 meters away from a couple of these players. He has been spotted out. Not a lot of cover there. Ooh. And some good shots from Kavanunu to keep him at bay.
If we didn't have Kapanunu on 50 HP, I'm sure that's an Ash portal, but as it is now, you need to disengage and get back to the squad. We're gonna find a creative angle to take them slightly oob, and most importantly, back to the rest of the squad as they rotate into Geyser. A notoriously difficult POI when the zone pulls over here, but a really nice transitionary point, especially when, as you and I both know, we're going to that southern side of the map. We shouldn't get a lot of teams rotating through Geyser, and for now, it's a safe place to be.
That's the trick, though, right? It can get a little bit dicey in that position, and we saw a couple end games, and especially mid games as well, go poorly for teams that hung around there too long. So it's definitely about timing. You want to make sure that you get what you can out of that position. Realizing it's safe for now is good, but have your next point of interest that you want to hit in mind when you're going into that position. That's how you're going to set yourself up for success in getting to this area for the final circle in the bottom left quadrant of the map.
8 packs, the squad, or one of them rather, that barely made it in the last week are also our first squad to go down. Unfortunately for them, they'll have to wait it out until next game, though it is by far not the end of the world. I didn't expect to be saying the same of Mushak, however, and they are in danger. Over by Fragment, they're going to need to make use of those Wraith rotations, and even that may not be enough as Zesty Sausage is eating shots in the back and just holding it down for the rest of the squad with the 30. They don't have a whole lot of height. They don't even have a whole lot of space, but it seems like Mushak is stabilized behind this meager shipping container.
Right, and they have the advantage of the zone here, so I mean they can it's not a lot of cover, but they do have time on their side for at least a moment, although one is gonna fall. That's not what you want to see if you're Mushak, as Xeris and company here from the epicest gamers making an epic push out of the zone and trying to jump on. That's a second member down. They're cutting their losses already. That's Mushak, our top seed, going to potentially be the second team on the back foot here.
Survival's the game for now, and we'll keep our eyes on the kill feed to see how long they can pull that for. In the meanwhile, though, guess who's surviving, and I dare say even thriving over here? Is this Black Ops 2, who just picked up their first kills of the day, of the night, and have height, plenty of loot to work with, and a decent way to get themselves into zone, running not just that Wraith that Mushak are opting into, but the Bangalore instead of the Catalyst alongside it. By far the more aggressive choice.
Absolutely the more aggressive choice, and yet it's going to pay off for them because during that entire skirmish, we're down to 18 teams. Mushak is no longer with us in game 1 here, Dia, and that is not what you want to see if you're the top team, especially because, I don't know, you can think about it one way, you're the top team, hey, I'm going to come in and dominate this event, or maybe the pressure's on here a little bit. We'll have to see how they bounce back from it, right? It's all about mental resolve in these long gaming sessions, especially with match point format. You've got a lot of ground to make up, but you've also at this point in the night got a lot of time to do it, so it's going to be about the mental for a lot of these guys.
The next rotation and something that is this Black Ops 2 are already thinking about. We'll see how they end up going about it, since there's a nice chunk thrown at them by the Geriatrics. The number 2 and number 3 seed already so close together, not engaging. Instead, is this Black Ops 2 will take the long way around, rotating through Lava Siphon and hoping for more of a southern move into this next zone. We do know that as of the most recent update, we were pulling somewhere in the area of Thermal, but most of these teams haven't gotten the chance to scan the ring. We haven't either, and just like the rest of them, we are flying blind, adapting on the fly to whatever the ring throws at us.
Isn't that the game of being a caster though, Dia? Isn't that the fun? That's why you get paid the big bucks,
It is. I mean, I really enjoy. I think one of my favorite things is when we don't have next zone read. Like, say for example here, there's no green circle inside of this one zone over at Thermal, but you can kind of start to tell where teams are predicting it'll go, who has scan and who doesn't, who's playing it safe, and that's really interesting to me, is watching how those gambles pay off and who you can tell is operating with certainty.
Now on board with Ree, seeing if they can get something done. They're spotting a fight here. They're just going to go for the third party with the longbow, see if they can knock some damage onto some of these guys. I don't think they really have to worry about making their presence known here. Might as well just fire off a few shots and see if you can get some more chip damage. Not a lot that they're going to be able to do though, as these players have cover, and a lot of teams are going to have cover at this point. I'm impressed actually with how many of these teams are already kind of ready for this end game type of battle where they're peeking through these doors, looking through these panes of glass, just gathering information before making pushes here and not just YOLOing out in the open. That said, a couple players are dropping across the map. We know that this is the time when there is going to be some fighting.
Looks like Rose are the ones falling, having lost one so far in their engagement. We'll see whether they're able to make it in, as you talked about. It was very close for them even getting to compete on the day. Meanwhile, you're trying to fend off a push that's coming into Thermal Station. Looks like they're going to be able to do this pretty darn well, but I love what you were talking about there, Crackshot. Just making mention of the pace of this game. We talked about it a little bit at the start, and it really lines up with what we saw last week even in the intermediate finals, with teams, the community, making each other better in these formats. We're slowing down the pace of the game, we're playing more conservative, and we're playing a more stock standard competitive Apex Legends than we were in week 1 of the beginner division, because though they are always at each other's throats, these beginner teams have made each other so much fundamentally better at the game.
Some great movement here for the Contest of Legends. Babalu trying to get something done. This was another player we saw quite a bit of on stream, trying to create a little bit of a distraction maybe so that YOLO Jacket can go for the res here on Alpha. See if they can get that off. They should be able to. In the meantime, Kojiko is going to fall. And so that's another team off the board.
Really wondering what's going to happen over here with Contest of Legends. They've got the double smoke with the scans comp. Unfortunately, Rose gonna bite the dust. We had some questions about them earlier. As the zone continues to pull us a little further into Thermal. We are gonna need Contest of Legends to find a place, preferably a building, to set up. You do want to be one of those teams that is gambling with where the zone will go, because if you roll right, you roll it straight into endgame.
Oh, that's some shots right there. Out of the geriatrics. So much damage. Arsenal going to be able to complete the down onto Hooch. They know that they've got the back foot on Junk Dogs here. They've got them scanned up right now. They've got a player down, some damage down. Looking if they can finish off these kill points. That's huge. Rom does get one. There are 2 more players here. And there goes Team 7. That is Junk Dogs. They are out of this game. Down for the count. And some kill points on the board for the geriatrics, who may be a bit of a sleeper favorite in this one, I'll say. I mean, again, any of these teams can win, right? The geriatrics weren't necessarily at the top of the scoreboard along with their competitors up there with Mushak and his Black Ops 2, but they've shown some flashes of brilliance over these few weeks, and all they need is one good day, right? It's about staying hot at the right time.
Same thing can be said for St. Clair from last week. They weren't at the top of the leaderboard. They were, doing pretty well, but in that final day, it is really about how much clutch factor you've got, and more specifically, as we get later on, how much consistency you have as we approach these final couple games. We're just starting out the day, but those squads to get themselves off to an early lead, to put themselves in match point eligible positions, are going to have a much easier time rolling the dice and seeing if they can finish in the #1 spot.
Always nice to have a set of decisions in front of you instead of your position on the scoreboard dictating maybe 1 or 2 things you can do in a game. You want to be aggressive when you're feeling it, not when you have to be, because that's when it tends to not work out as well, especially in a lobby that is already showing us they've learned how to punish each other for the mistakes that are being made, and in doing so have collectively made themselves better. I do love that you said that, because okay, it's like, come on, man, let it rip. Yeah, let's go. Are we having a Beyblade duel? Is that what's going on in there?
I feel like there's no more appropriate team with the way that they're playing, with the legends that they've chosen, and with the name that they have. Just say, let them cook. Dr. Chef Boyardee is the team we just saw, and they are the only squad to be running not just the Octane, but also the Mirage, picking up both of those legends where no one else has even touched them today. A rotation in from another, I'll say, relatively unorthodox team composition, has Ernie and friends, who got that Newcastle Valk Catalyst, notably the Newcastle being the big difference here, with a good spot in zone, one that not a whole lot of people have prioritized.
Yeah, I mean, this is a couple of legends here that have I guess they're very tanky is how I want to say it in their abilities. They're going to be able to last long in a pretty good position here, I think, between their legends. And then as well, they're going to have, you know, Panismack that can sort of get them out of dodge if they need to. So we'll see what happens. Okay, some good shots from Mr. Mew here. Xeris is not loving the position that he's in as he tries to get out. Rexy going to try to get
Nice.
They are dancing with danger, but they do get it done.
Easy
Love when it works
shield
out for you,
swap.
right?
Wasn't even
it's
close.
so easy. Wasn't close. They weren't taking shots at all. You're right.
I was standing there just sweating, seeing if they would make it in, and thank God they do. However, many of our other squads may not be so lucky, as this next ring, 14 seconds from closing, is going to pull everyone out of Thermal Station. Unless you're lucky enough to have Panismack rotating you out early, this next step is not going to be so fun. Already, epicest gamers go down as Team 18 bites the dust. But simultaneously, seems like those squads that have rotated earlier, even if you were eating longbow shots as you tried to go for the shield swap, big chilling while everyone else falls.
Yeah, shoot, hide, win. We're not able to shoot or hide in that situation, and unfortunately not able to win. They fall. The legendary nerds out as well. And now 8 teams remain, and this is really where the nitty-gritty is going to start to happen. This is some really good high ground position that I like here from LMG. They've got a lot of vision, and they've got a pretty good chance to get away should they need to, I think.
Not a very pushable position either, which I really like in end games. In this particular position, Ragnarok just have great cover to work with, and with these small rocks they've got, the height that they'll have on the next ring has them predicting this zone perfectly. One that, as I alluded to earlier, we've seen in the ALGS. See if these squads, specifically Ragnarok, know how to close it out from this position. Is good God, Midnight really knows how to play this position. He is picking up kill after kill. That's gonna be another one. That's another one.
That is prime early Apex Legends wingman action right there. The gun's fallen in and out of favor over the years, but just seeing shots hit the way that Midnight just did is gonna have, yeah, that's what makes you want to pick it up in your next game, even though I know I'm gonna whiff the whole clip. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've played with somebody who's actually quite good at the game yesterday, and I was using a wingman. They were using a wingman. I went to the death screen, obviously. Watch them do it. Totally different game. The wingman's really powerful when you're hitting shots. When you're me, not so good.
Yeah, I mean, you watch a player like Midnight use it there, and you're just like, why doesn't mine work like that?
Yeah.
He's got a good position. He's gonna keep trying to make it sing. He's gonna keep doing some damage here, and when these shots hit, I mean, they are doing a ton of damage. The question is, are they gonna realize they're getting flanked on their left right now? Is this Black Ops 2? I mean, it seems like they are pretty aware of this position. Some good shots here coming out now from Ree. They're doing some good amount of damage, but so much coming back. Fitzel not able to last it out in that duel. That's Ree to fall. And more damage coming in. Is this Black Ops 2? Is this the end?
Look, could be. No mobility on this Seer, and he's in the line of fire of 2 different people. So that is going to be our second place squad coming into the day, eliminated, leaving us with just the top 3. We'll see who can take it, as LMG do have height temporarily, but it is going to be ultimately pulling away from them, as they've had to sit around the outskirts of this zone and watch as it pulls away from them.
A lot of healing going on right here. I mean, this team right here, Ragnarok has not had to move. They've been ragging on this rock, if you will, and they don't really need to do anything else with it.
Taking stock of these final couple moments. It's a nice scan for now, as LMG get the chance to evaluate their position. Is this a duo on the low ground? Should it be? Be a very different end game that we see played out, as it looks like Ernie and friends are operating as just that two-person team, leaving it between Ragnarok and LMG to play this perfectly, because the duo, as a third party, can absolutely still take the game. Ragnarok
And that
playing
might be
things very
what they're
passive.
looking to do. Oh god. Here we go. It's the fight between the 2-3 squads here. So much damage from Contra there. Those are some good shots to start it off right here. And oh, the fight is not going in their favor. Danny doing his best to deal some damage back. Contra, another knock. And Danny just hiding in the smoke. Yeah, doing what he can. I mean, this is exactly when the duo is going to try to pounce here. Dia, Ernie does grab one. That's Contra to fall. And oh my god, you were right. Is that what's happening?
It's almost all solos. That's it for LMG, and Ragnarok have just that solo. In comes that third party, and it looks like it's going to happen indeed. Ernie and friends are in position to take this, but what a fry from Danny. Shield swap instantly as well. Pushing up on the high ground, he has to go past that Newcastle shield, and he does send it with shots in the back, though. It will be from the low ground, Ernie and friends that take game one.
That was the most magical reverse caster curse I've ever seen, Dia. I have to, I have to give you a golf clap for that. You mentioned that all it took was picking their moment at the right time, and Ernie's gambit pays off. Ernie and friends take game one.
They played that really well. Of course, the timing, as you mentioned, crucial in the end game position. But even during the mid game, this was a squad that knew exactly what they were about, biding their time until they were able to Valkylt successfully into a defensible building. They're one of the few teams to be playing the Newcastle, and they make it look pretty darn good. We didn't see a whole lot of big fortifications set up to keep other teams away from them, but they're making use of that mobile shield. They're buying themselves space where they need it. I like the game plan.
I really like their gameplay as well. Being down a player going into such a desperate final circle situation for them, and they don't panic. They wait. They realize, hey, we've got some ground to work with. We can shift around this cover. These teams might know where we are, but as long as we can hide longer than them, we pick our moment, we can win the game, and that's going to be absolutely huge for them going into later tonight. That's absolutely huge as we're going to move into the next game here. Looking at the scoreboard for them, 11 kill points in that game. That's absolutely huge. Is this Black Ops 2? That's the team we expected to see high up in the kill totals. That's one that we were sort of expecting to see, maybe a little higher than fourth place, but still a respectable game for them. And consistency is key in these situations, right? Now a team like Mushak finishing in 19th place with 0 kill points. That's not one that I had on my bingo card for beginner division tonight.
No, not something you would have expected. And hey, as we talked about, they've shifted the composition up, and they've constantly been in the battle for first place. Who's to say they're not warming up? But to find out, we are going to take a short break before we come right back with game number 2.
When I first heard about the TELUS Esports Series, I was like, there's no way.
I was absolutely stoked.
You don't really hear about esports at all in Canada, let alone from a big company like TELUS.
Canada does have a scene, and we do have people who are thriving towards getting us into that bigger picture.
2 versus 1, and it should be their game. The Bronze Bonobos from second, now finally find first.
Simply put, the TELUS Esports Series is esports for everyone. It's our take of what we think the esports industry should look like and where we think it should go. It's way more fun to compete for something when there's something on the line. And the TELUS Esports Series gives players of all skill levels opportunities to experience that. We really want to make the gaming experience more fun for everyone, and we want to help the gaming industry evolve and grow the way that it should. And I think the time is right for it.
My name is V Roses.
My name is Tay.
My name is Matt, otherwise known as Zilla.
Actually, my coworker who inspired me to get into Apex. Currently, I'm a competitive Apex player for the St. Clair Saints at Sanka College. I played Apex casually since Season 7 for a couple seasons, and I peaked Masters twice, and I didn't really think about it until when I moved here and I found SEC.
What started me in my journey as a content creator was my competitive side. I used to play soccer, so you just get this rush, and you're like, oh, I want to be part of something bigger or like better, see where it could take me, you never know.
Probably about a year ago, I was just playing games for fun since I was 11 or 12 back on console. When I got my computer, it just opened up a bunch of new possibilities, and I had a lot of friends throughout Winnipeg that were associated with like Lotus 8. They needed somebody to play Apex, and that was the game that I was spending most of my time on.
My advice to aspiring competitors would be to put yourself out there. I know us gamers, we're pretty introverted, but networking and showcasing your skills online really helps, especially when it comes to getting recognition and putting your name out there.
Honestly, just be yourself and being consistent. I feel like consistency is like one of the biggest things because people like seeing consistency. For competitors, muscle memory, like sometimes before I go to bed, I go in the firing range and I practice so I can keep the muscle memory of like the patterns of the guns, the recoil patterns.
My advice for aspiring competitors would be to follow your dreams. Anybody can do any of this pro player stuff. Anybody can be anyone they want to be. Practice a lot. Find a good group of people who are willing to do that with you and have mutual goals.
We're back, folks, and we are just about ready to jump into game number 2. But before we do, Crackshot, we're going to do that all-important thing, especially when you're operating in a match point format. And that's check in with the leaderboards to see what team is where. We saw that we're an immense amount of kills for not one, but 2 squads, Ernie and Friends, and Is This Black Ops 2, both hitting above the 10-point threshold in our last game. But Ernie and Friends, with their win, managed to find way more points.
You know, what did Bon Jovi say that one time? I think he said we're halfway there, and that is the exact that is exactly where Ernie and Friends find themselves. And you know, it was not a team we expected to see there. Is This Black Ops 2? They'll stay in second. Of course, Ragnarok playing an awesome game. That's what I love about these finals is, you know, we saw it last week with SCC jumping out in becoming, you know, not necessarily a favorite, but they were able to catapult themselves into a position to win. And that's exactly what Ernie and Friends have done here. They weren't a favorite coming into today, but it doesn't matter coming into today as long as you're playing your best Apex Legends, and they absolutely capitalized on the opportunity in front of them in that previous game, and they're rewarded for it, as you can see.
And there's a really funny contrast between St. Clair, who won our intermediate division, and Ernie and Friends coming out with the win in the first game of today, where St. Clair, during their journey through intermediate, managed to climb from, I believe it was around 16th place to 4th over the course of the 4 weeks of competition. Ernie and Friends started in 3rd and then have slid their way down to just barely staying in that top 10. The fact that in the first game of the finals they come out swinging should demonstrate to everyone in the beginner division that despite the fact that their results have slipped a little bit, this team has not lost their luster. And looking into game 2, where we will again be returning to World's Edge, they may very well be able to pull off a similar performance with the way that they are proactively moving into the zones.
Absolute sleeper pick of the day for sure, and I'm sure that they earned some fans across all of the channels in which we are broadcasting the TELUS Esports Series currently. Shout out to everybody watching right now on Twitch, YouTube, and Optic TV, of course. Love everybody who's, you know, joining us to be a part of such a special event here with the TELUS Esports Series.
One of the first events of its kind as well. TELUS Esports Series has made Apex Legends competition the highest level available to everyone across Canada. So events like this, as much as we want to see more of them, have to be appreciated for what they are right now. And it's, I mean, honestly, I know that you work behind the scenes quite a bit, Crackshot. An incredible show of just being able to organize not just yourselves, but an entire country of Apex Legends gamers.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to take all the credit. Of course, I have an amazing team working behind me with the DSA group, and you know, TELUS has been amazing to work with as well throughout this whole thing. So just excited that we're able to, you know, cap off what's been such a fun event, you know, with amazing finals like we saw last week and that we're already seeing today.
Celebrate our differences, perhaps not celebrating in this game, once again chose to opt into the contest that they had going over by Countdown and immediately had to disengage into Skyhook again. It was them, and actually, interestingly enough, Ernie and Friends that were landing contested over by Countdown. And now, unfortunately, with Peter down, it's going to be left just up to Saturn and Super Chicken to stay alive and keep the legacy of Celebrate Our Differences going, as they need to rotate once again to the south of the zone, this time down a member.
Yeah, and they were, I mean, you could see that they were almost like considering running to get that banner, but they wouldn't have even had time. The amount of distance they had to create to disengage in that situation, that's the danger when it comes to these drop spots. And again, another thing that we've allowed the players to do that's pretty common in the higher levels of competition is, you know, calling your drop spots. We have a spot for that in the Discord. Remember, guys, don't forget to join the TELUS Esports Series Discord. Always love to shout that one out. It is located below the stream. You can find it, and you can check it out on the DSA group's Twitter as well if you're watching on Optic TV. Make sure you guys join up there, because that's where you're going to find out about these competitions, and that's where you're going to be able to make friends and find teammates. Very cool stuff that I saw early on in the competition. We were running some scrims in there. People started to make friends, and, you know, before we knew it, we had a group of people, you know, every, you know, few nights we're just, getting on saying like, hey, I'm gonna run some ranked, who wants to come join up? And that's what's so cool about these competitions, is that it's not only a great place for competition, but it's a great place for community as well. Although when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, it is a competition. These teams are going to fight to the brink, to the nail for the prizing available here. That is I don't know if that's a welcoming card or not.
Who takes the car? Watching Is This Black Ops 2 just slide in and now take the fight to the high ground. Oski deservedly bites the dust here as Epicus gamers get to sit back and farm up. Is This Black Ops 2 push onto the high ground and try and take this momentum away from them? They got a lot of confidence after last game, but in a 3 versus 1, can Epicus gamers still clutch this out? Does Black Ops 2 have that X factor? Oski gonna be full thirsted. We got another one coming in soon as Murbolt drops down to perhaps get a shield swap, and as they do, Is This Black Ops 2 gets wiped out of the second game of the night.
Last game might have been Black Ops 2. This game certainly was not.
No.
That was just they took the card. I just don't think they were expecting a team to sort of be waiting for them, and I guess that's the surprise from you there, Dia, is you're basically just saying like, here we are on a silver platter, and it's a very ego challenge move. Rose getting caught off guard here, not sure he was expecting the pressure from behind as this player here, Broads, falls and is going to go down early. Teammates nowhere nearby to be able to even help out with that one, and they're going to be down a member early. That's a banner that I'm not sure they're going to be able to recover, even if they want to. They're going to have to face high ground to get there. This is a position you got to cut your losses.
Man, I've been in Unmuzzled's shoes before as well. Not fun when you know you're so separated from the team. Tim from HR showing up, though, and taking out Kavanunu. Just the one dropped. We'll see where Tim, if Tim, chooses to press the issue any further. I'm sure he's got words for the squad on the low ground. For right now, going to be pretty reserved as the Junk Dogs heal up before pushing the advantage, knowing that when you extend yourself along this high ground, there's a lot of people who have line of sight to you.
Yeah, you go into this. I mean, we saw this countless times last week, and even in our broadcasts weekly. This chasm here under the bridge is just so dangerous to be in, because from these players on the high ground, you take so much damage, they have such an advantage. Then they drop to finish off their kills. Somebody saw them or heard them do that, and it just becomes a pit of death, essentially. That seems to be what happens every single time here. Tim from HR lighting up some good shots, was able to get that first kill, but I really do like the caution being exercised here from Junk Dogs not to overpress their advantage and put themselves in a position where they are then the low ground team. I mean, they didn't have as great a game one as I think they expected to have. Tim from HR might have received a complaint and had to look into it for this one. And it does look like, oh, another Xeris is falling. That's a player from Mushak.
Perhaps another unlucky start. LMG in trouble as well across the rest of World's Edge. Contest of Legends, charge rifling it up. I know that's the gun that I jump back to when I've had a particularly rough game one of the day, and Contest of Legends playing things no differently. They got a squad flying out over the Mirage Etoile, even into Lava Fisher alongside them, but this is two different parts of teams that will be clashing over by Lava Fisher, as we've got the remnants of Celebrate Our Differences making their way through there as well. Powerhouse running the Pathfinder all the way south of the map right now. Have a pretty good spot to hold up in. Some decent high ground, good access to either side of the ring pole. And we're going to find out where that ring pole's right now. And Powerhouse win the gamble because they couldn't lose.
Some good damage coming in here as they continue to make these nemesis work wonders for them. I think that's actually correct. I wasn't sure, but I think that... Oh, amazing. Even better.
You're crushing it. That's... I will say, I really like the Nemesis. I like Nemesis. Runs through ammo a lot. Oh, yeah. That is the big weakness of this gun. We're seeing a lot of Lobas in the lobby, a disproportionate amount, likely because of that. Teams that do choose to run the Nemesis without knowing where they're going to get that ammo can often come up empty-handed without a big source of DPS in the end game.
Especially, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a compound interest issue if you've got more than one rocket on your team at a time, right?
Yeah. It's quite tough.
Now you've got 2 players running around looking for energy mags as you move your way across the map, and that means there's half as many to go around. You're going to burn through ammo twice as quick in a gun that already burns through ammo almost twice as quick as some of its counterparts.
Doesn't feel particularly good. Epicus Gamers. Oh, that feels so bad. We knew it was coming. As soon as you see the Valkyl just waiting, likely going to be a cancellation. It's not the worst thing in the world for them. They've got plenty of time, and it does only take a bit of the cooldown off the top, so another, we'll say 15% at this point. Ninjames will have their ult up once more and be able to relocate the rest of the team. For right now, it just means hanging out, taking a few extra shots, and Abacus Gamers will chill.
Absolutely chill at this moment in time. Some good shots here. Oh, nice from Merbolt. No, Merbolt's pretty adept with this weapon, and he's going to take the head off of Ghost X. That's the drop. Are they going to try to push their advantage, though? The Epicus Gamers, there's a lot of distance to cover here. I don't think that that's a kill they're going to be able to finish, but it does buy them enough time to get the Valk ult off.
I appreciate them using the ultimate here instead of pushing for the higher ground. I want to push for the higher ground, certainly, but this ain't a kill race. There are still 19 teams up in a finals lobby, so playing it with a little bit more reservation to get yourself further into this beginner lobby. Apes on the other side of this, however, were the ones to drop that seer, and notably are running the fuse as well. Operating off of as much high ground as they can will benefit this team a lot while we get into the later stages of this game, with round 2 starting to close in. As much as you can keep yourself above other teams, Fuse is going to be very happy.
Right, and again, consistency is where it's going to come in, right? Because you're getting to that 3rd, 4th game when teams start to reach that match point. It's going to be about how much ground you can make up if you're not there yet. And if you have a consistent game 1, 2, and 3, you might be in better shape than a team that had one good game because they tried to play a little too aggressive.
Nice Evo out of Apes. Ghost finally gets to that blue. Some consistency given over that way as we do drop another team. Top 17 now in game number 2, but we're getting pretty close together. And Carl gets beamed from below. Shoot, hide, win have certainly hit. They've certainly shot. They may very well win the fight, even onto the high ground right now. Getting a little bit of space with this catalyst. Walls available. It's another drop onto Carl immediately after the res comes up. And Orange Chicken wants to push this. Needs some backup from I Love Matthews. Laying in the cover fire for him. Should be enough to pick up this thirst, but he's overextended just a little bit. The wall still not being used. Finally going to buy a little bit more space, but he peaks too early and goes down. Powerhouse find themselves in a 1v1. Do they know, however? They do not just yet. Being shot in the back is going to be the end of them. Powerhouse bite the dust.
A tough position to be in right now. You're trapped between 2 teams, and on both sides of you, you've got teams that are in very strong cover positions. So shoot, hide, win. The fact that they're already, I mean, I can understand the position, why Orange Chicken wanted to get that push down. I mean, they're already down a member, and it's not a member that they're going to be able to recover at this point. And so anything you can do, any little chance you might be able to take at this point in the game is going to seem more enticing than it might be in those situations, to try and salvage what could be, you know, a disastrous game for you being a player down this early.
Apes have shown up, though. You can tell just because of the fuse. And we peek again, and LMG are just gone. It's unfortunate, but Ernie and friends, they're running that back. Same composition, same position. Again in thermal station as shoot, hide, win. Put up the defense of their lives. Not quite getting the knock onto Apes, but with Ghost X peeking. Everybody's blessed right now. Shoot, hide, win can't peek through this fuse grenade, and Orange Chicken has to disengage, having eaten a little bit too much of the knuckle cluster.
Gonna play outside the building here. There's still a lot of pressure on them right now, so I'm not sure how they completely disengage from this fight. They may end up being forced into this engagement, a man down. Ernie and friends happy to be in the position that they're in. They can just keep making this charge rifle sing. I mean, look at all the damage that's being dealt right now from Ernie and friends. They're certainly going to enjoy the spoils of that position in this engagement that they're in. I guess it's multiple engagements, really. They've got a great overlook spot.
It's another ammo hungry weapon, and plenty of sniper ammo was packed up for Ernie and friends at the top of thermal. Rosé won't live to see it, unfortunately. They get taken out in the top 14, having collected 1 placement point for their troubles, so certainly not the worst game. They'll have the chance to run it back one more time on World's Edge before we swap into Storm Point in game number 4. Shoot, hide, win, meanwhile, get a small moment of reprieve to loot up, plan out their next move into the ring, and one that will not have as much cover for them. Both of these zones, or rather both of these buildings that they were sat in, now excluded from the safe part of the map, and they'll have to fight in what is going to be a straight up 2 versus 3, where Shoot, Hide, Win will be severely disadvantaged.
And it doesn't seem like they're too afraid of it, though. I mean, how you can't play afraid in this situation. It's an unfortunate one to be in, but you got to make the most of it here. Orange Chicken in a good spot, now finally back, returned inside this building. I don't know that they're going to be able to do too much with this position. We'll have to see. They are going to have to be pushed out into the zone and no cover to work with. I mean, they're going to have this wall that they can use. This is some good timing from Orange Chicken to buy some more time, but where do you go from here? There's a team right on your right. There are more members than you, but the grid damage coming down, not enough in this situation. I love Math. I think he's telling his teammate, you gotta go. You gotta leave me. You have to get out if you want to get some more points here. Talking to Chef Boyardee dealing out some damage. Shoot, hide, win. Trying to shoot and hide. Not gonna be able to win just yet, as Orange Chicken is just going to try to make it across the lava here and see if they can. Are they even gonna? I'm not even sure they're gonna be able to make it across that without being spotted. Did they? I guess he lived. I guess he made it.
Charge rifle from Dare Titan actually buying some serious space right there, having map-wide impact just from this hill outside of Thermal. Dr. Chef Boyardee, again, switching up the composition, have given us the Gibraltar in game number 2 for a little bit more reset potential. They've chosen to stick with the Mirage, and now we'll see how well it works out. Their rotation into zone didn't happen as early this game as last, but they're still going to be able to claim the same donut building that they played earlier.
They were here once, and we'll see if they'll be able to make use of it again. You have a lot of vision, that's the thing, but not a lot of places that you can actually push damage outwards. And a team can really hem you in this building very easily, whereas it's hard for you to push damage out and make people afraid of you. Yeah, the fences are going to help, though, certainly, especially the shield charge as well, with the amount of time left in the zone. I mean, they can definitely make this work.
Nin James full thirsted by Ernie and friends as they pick up yet another kill. We're seeing the squad that won game number 1 transition to a very strong game number 2, an extraordinary start to the day. As we've now hit top 10. All these teams are getting even more placement points on top of the kills that they will have collected throughout these first 40 minutes of gameplay. Dr. Chef Boyardee, big chillin' for now. Have got a nice spot to play, and with the ring having, I say, as few squads as it does, there's no real pressure for anyone to fight. It's long-range engagements like the ones that Ernie and friends are abusing right now. But we talked about ammo-hungry weapons. Charge rifle, certainly one of them. Only one shot left, and there it goes. Mr. Mew left without options. No way to finish the squad on the low ground.
Not a lot that Ernie's friends are going to be able to do from here either, as teams are going to start to become, I think this is kind of, it's going to get to the point where they're going to have to over-peak their position, and you got to consider when you're in these high ground positions. We saw it in week 4's stream. You can be disadvantaged in the high ground position. Epicus Gamers is going to go down. Merbolt's unable to survive in the little cubby that he found himself just barely inside that zone. Epicus Gamers goes down. Icarus, the beneficiaries there with a kill point of their own.
Skull Piercer Wingman,
nice.
Especially strong. Feels really good. We talked about the Wingman earlier. Let's just pretend for the moment that you and I both hit headshots and understand how good this feels.
I mean, yeah, we'll definitely need to pretend.
Yeah. I don't want to flame you. I'm speaking for myself. Not, you know, it's not a part of my reality.
I don't know. Maybe 2016 crack shot, but, you know, it's... I found a bunch of gray hairs in the mirror a couple months ago and said, I think it's time to make a LinkedIn.
Yeah. Have you been watching Ted Lasso at all?
Yeah, good show.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Found a gray hair yesterday. My goal aesthetics is now Trent Krim from The Independent.
Yep, of course.
That's what I want to age into.
damage here. This is definitely a goal of Apes, is they want to get some damage off here if they can, and that will at least buy them some time to close the gap here. This final circle is going to be extremely unforgiving for teams that need to cover distance.
Wow, two Newcastles facing up against each other. Who had this on their bingo card? Ernie and friends certainly didn't, as they got taken off guard as soon as they dropped. Fortunately, having the mobile shield to buy them a little bit of time, they'll be able to move up and likely challenge this donut building that we saw earlier. Ernie and friends seem to have found their way pretty darn easily onto the top of it, can even play underneath on both sides. There's a lot of shareable terrain in here, but Panasmac is going to put themselves right up on top of it, and Ernie's Gambit is going to throw down the Newcastle while making this an actual very good fortified position.
Good damage in from those rockets.
Oh,
Panasmac, look at that. Some good plays there, but not actually opting to leave the top of this building. I mean, this might be just about the safest place they can be. They've got so many options from here. It's going to be about choosing. Okay. Oh, this is a position. This is one way to do it. You know what? This is a good way to do it. I like it, actually.
I was wondering what was going on with the amount of teams we had stacked up in this building. But as you say, you know, you get points in whatever way you can. And right now, placements are going to mean a lot. A little bit of smoke thrown out means that we finally get to peek our way and perhaps collect a little bit of loot. 8 packs. Not going to be around for too much longer. Dr. Chef Boyardee still coexisting with Ernie and friends. They were the ones that threw out the Gibraltar ultimate earlier, and it's another situation that Ernie and friends find themselves in where now they're going to have to vacate this building, this high ground, at the same time as the squad underneath them. It's an extraordinarily risky spot to find yourself in, and there's a chance that they try and circumvent it entirely with another Newcastle ult and perhaps even a Valk ult.
They do have options. That's what I was mentioning about this position. But for now, I mean, they're just going to take this damage, right? They're dealing it out heavy, and that's going to be Nugget to go down. That's going to put that team on the back foot. Ernie and friends, a strong position, but one in which they are now eating damage. Everybody in the lobby knows they're here. All 5 squads still alive. I mean, this is going to be all about timing for them, and if they can actually disengage from this position. And oh my god, look at it's a barrage of nades.
Fuse is just the worst thing as any defensive legend to deal with. Ernie and friends certainly have a bone to pick with the Apes. We'll see what they can do. That's a really nice knock onto Dio. Relatively little health. We'll see if this Newcastle knockdown shield is able to persist. It is not, as another knock comes down onto Dio, and War Shotgun follows up immediately. No further cover, with nades starting to rain in. Ernie and friends put up a good defense, throw out a catalyst wall to defend their high grounds. They're starting to be pushed up here, but now have very few cooldowns. They've expended the Newcastle wall, they've expended the catalyst wall. They've got no cover as they are forced to hit the low ground. Ernie and friends are in the fight of their lives as Dr. Chef Boyardee starts clearing out the low ground below them. Icarus are going to follow Dr. Chef Boyardee, take out the geriatrics, and we are into the top 3 with Dr. Chef sitting on the low ground, now being dropped on from above. They get a nice knock onto Ghost X and are fighting it out for their lives just below Ernie and friends, who are looking for their second win of the day. Still 3 squads, but Mr. Mew takes matters into his own hands on this catalyst with the Peacekeeper. Needs to find one shot, and he can't do it. Schist turns around and beams him in the face. Panasmac, it's all up to him. 3 squads left. He pops out of the zone. Schist gets the shield swap almost, but with the Prowler on the ground now and the Rampage, it will be Ernie and friends that pick up game 2.
That was tight. Yeah, look at how small the circle is right now. I mean, it's that one right to the bitter end, and you were wondering if Ernie and friends was going to be able to get the back-to-back there. I mean, there were some dire moments on top of the cover that they had. As little as it might have been, they made it work. They survived, and by the neck of their teeth, they're going to get a second game win.
Ridiculously close, and I tell you what really changed that was the fact that Apes, with Schist specifically, who was dipping and diving and outplaying left and right in that final zone, got a shield swap that was like empty or very close to. That shield swap goes differently, that game goes differently, and playing on very thin margins were both of our finalists there. Apes and Ernie and friends crushed it, and Apes with a composition that no one else was running.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, bringing that was just the amount of nades that they were able to output with that composition, the amount of space they were able to take and information they were able to gather in using that composition with the fuse. It could have spelled the end for Ernie and friends. Ultimately, that's not how it goes for them, but a valiant effort, if you will, and 11 kill points to boot. I mean, that's still a great game from them. You got to look at that and you got to chalk that up, you know, as over the long haul of an evening. That's a game that Apes is going to look back on and say, hey, that was a game that we played to the best of our abilities and now has catapulted us upwards and given us a chance in this match point format.
And I tell you what, with the 11 kills that they got, it is, by the numbers, a better game than Ernie and friends just had. They've got one more point than our first place team just because of the kills alone, the kills that they were able to rack up with the information and the aggression that you just mentioned, Crackshot. Another win for Ernie and friends, though, catapults them to the top by far of the overall leaderboards, and they're going to be feeling very pleased with themselves coming out of game 2. We do have that one more map of World's Edge to see whether anyone can challenge what Ernie and friends have already given us, a magnificent start to their final game, to the final day of the beginner division. But to see what happens on World's Edge game number 3, we're going to have to wait and find out. We've got a short break where you guys can join our Discord, and we'll be right back after a break.
When I first heard about the TELUS Esports Series, I was like, there's no way.
I was absolutely stoked.
You don't really hear about esports at all in Canada, let alone from a big company like TELUS.
Canada does have a scene, and we do have people who are thriving towards getting us into that bigger picture.
2 versus 1, and it should be their game. The Bronze Bonobos from second, now finally find first.
Simply put, the TELUS Esports Series is esports for everyone. It's our take of what we think the esports industry should look like and where we think it should go. It's way more fun to compete for something when there's something on the line. And the TELUS Esports Series gives players of all skill levels opportunities to experience that. We really want to make the gaming experience more fun for everyone, and we want to help the gaming industry evolve and grow the way that it should. And I think the time is right for it.
What's going on, guys? It's the Ma here.
I'm Cheesy Potato.
Yeah, I'm playing in the TELUS Invitational.
I've always really been a gamer, playing Halo, and then I eventually transitioned into Call of Duty, into Fortnite as Battle Royales became a little more popular, and then I eventually stepped into Apex Legends. The thought of becoming a content creator was just a mere dream that I had. My brother, Dr. Moz, pushed me out of my comfort zone to essentially start streaming, and that's when the grind for competitive Apex and chasing high Apex Predator ranks began.
Started Apex at day 0, first day the game came out. And yeah, I worked hard then. I was playing on console at first and just playing pubs all the time with a couple buddies. The longer Apex went on, the more serious I got about it. I started putting in more hours, putting in more work, making more content, like falling in love with the game in general. The only advice that I would give is basically just grind and put in the hours. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Just find like a solid group of friends that have the same mindset as you and then just grind.
The biggest thing is putting yourself out there, whether that's chasing high ranks for content creation or to start scrimming and competing in tournaments at the highest levels, such as the Apex TELUS tournament.
World's Edge.
World's Edge.
World's Edge. That's it. I'm a Wraith main. I love World's Edge. I love my buildings.
World's Edge.
World's Edge, of course. I'm a Caustic main.
R301.
The flatline does so much damage. The hip fire is insane. Now it's 10 times better than the R301. Definitely the flatline.
R3.
Flatline.
R301 every day of the week.
Oh, 100% the card.
Volt.
That's tough.
Car.
Car.
I'm gonna have to go with the Volt. 3x on the 301, the Hemlock, or the Charge Rifle.
2x Bruiser.
2 times Bruiser.
2 times HCOG.
The 2 to 4 is insane. It used to be the 3 times, but now it's the 2 to 4.
I like the Assault class.
Assault.
Oh, Wraith. Oh, my baby girl, she got a buff, and the animations with her hands look so good. I was like, oh my god, they spoiled her. I was so happy.
I'd definitely say Controller is my favorite, mainly because I am a Caustic main.
Probably the controller. I'm more of a zone type player as well as an anchor, so the control would be great for me.
Welcome back, everyone. We are about to jump into Game 3 of the TELUS Esports Series 2 Beginner Division Finals. With 2 games out of the way, I've got deja vu, Crackshot. It's another Ernie and Friends win and another thermal finish. Going into Game 3, are we going to see the same?
You know what? For the viewer's sake, for our sake, I hope it pulls somewhere else, but the thermal finishes are so exciting. And I mean, Ernie and Friends really are the ones who stand to benefit, right? They don't need a great game here. They've got some distance because of those 2 huge wins between them and their competition here. They just need a solid game to set themselves up for this next game when we push into Storm Point, and that's when they can start playing on that match point, right? They just need to get 8 points here. All they need to do that is finish in the top 10. And so finish in the top 10 with a couple kills, you know, give or take. I'm expecting them to be able to do that given how they performed tonight. Again, if they break that 50-point threshold for our newer viewers to Apex Legends, yes, they have to break it. But if they break it in this game and then win this game, they still have to win another one after it. You have to break the threshold and then win the next game.
Yeah. Match point eligibility is only once you begin the match. There we go. When you're match point eligible at the start of it. So Ernie and Friends do give us at least 2 games left, and the breath of fresh air for a lot of squads that we're expecting bigger, better things going into the finals is that after this game, our movement to Storm Point gives us the entire other half of the season to work with. Because going into today, you've played half and half the whole time. This is the first opportunity that teams have even had to close out the day with just 1 map after this. So a little stressful. Ernie and Friends, of course, their goal is 8 points out of this game. That's all they need. A win would be fine. It would be sure, whatever. But their goal is 8 points.
And also, yeah, with that 8-point goal, you've got to wonder, they got to get there here. But going into this next game for them, the other teams below them, they're going to start to see this gap being created. A few teams were able to have a great bounce back game, and I'm going to keep going back to it, Dia. It's about the mental fortitude. Skill only gets you so far in these situations. Skill can only win you a gunfight or 2 a game when it comes to, how a BR is going to work. There's 19 other teams in this lobby that want your head at any given moment. So playing consistently throughout an evening, not letting the little things get to you, 1 bad game here and there can't detract you, or you're just going to pull yourself too far out of the running. And so, a big game from a team like Apes to pull themselves up in the standings there, that's huge. The Geriatrics had another decent game. They're still in the conversation. There still could be a lot of Apex tonight. I mean, it's not too uncommon that we see match point series where you've got 5 to 6 teams in match point eligibility at any given time, right? So There is a huge lead for Ernie and friends. Don't get me wrong. They've played incredible so far today, but there's still a lot of Apex left, and I'm excited for it as we head into this third game.
Yeah, winning is a very difficult thing to do at any stage. So, as you say, I mean, being able to replicate that success time and time again, already really impressive stuff from Ernie and friends, but we have to call it at some point. When does the luck run out? When do other teams start to gather momentum, especially squads that have been able to make extraordinary recoveries from game to game? I'm thinking of teams, not just Ernie and friends who found their double wins, but Apes as well. Dr. Chef Boyardee, who played out very similar game plans, changed a few things up with the Fuse and the Gibraltar, and came back and really crushed it in the second game of the day. That was the exact same scenario, and on paper you'd say that they should just have another game where they go out in the middle, and yet they change things. While other squads continue to climb and achieve higher highs, it's up to Ernie and friends to really keep themselves in the driver's seat, and that's where a lot of teams will fall short.
I mean, if anything that's been shown to us so far, Dia, regardless of how much paper we look at, it doesn't seem to matter when it comes to these finals. They're exciting, they're unpredictable, and a lot of notes can get thrown out the window quickly. With these games, it seems like some teams are putting on some very miraculous performances. Other teams that we were really, really high on coming in today, maybe starting a bit slower than they would have liked, but still a lot of Apex in front of us. Here we are, game 3. World's Edge, the last one before we swap over to Storm Point for 3 games as well. So this is really where teams are going to have to, solidify their position as they start to consider another variable, and that's BR games. It's all about managing variables. How are teams going to manage going from a 3-game World's Edge stretch into a 3-game Storm Point stretch? They haven't had to do that yet this season, right? We split it up so that they played 3 maps one day and 3 maps another day, so that teams, especially in the lower levels, have a chance to practice and really hammer home what they want to do on each of these competitive maps. Now you got to put it all together. Let's see if they can do it.
Now, notably, over by Countdown, we've no longer got the contest happening. Ernie no longer having to deal with Celebrate Our Differences. However, also of note, it was a 3-way contest by Overlook. Everyone and their mother landing in the eastern side of the map to get the information that Overlook provides. It's got a great beacon spawn rate alongside the fact that it's relatively isolated. If you're an Edge squad, plenty of great real estate there. The thing is that in game number 3, making the shift this late has already caused some serious problems as Orange Chicken ends up going out in the kill feed.
Orange Chicken going to be the one to fall, and that's unfortunately the irony of being able to survive as long as they did in the previous game. A fish into gun is going to be down, but the trade comes in. Dr. Pepper Slurpee, yeah, coming to help. That's exactly what the kill feed said. Comes to help, gets the trade, some early damage from this. Is this Black Ops 2? That's huge. That's exact. You know what? It might have been an early fight. It might have been one that they had a big advantage in, but that is what a team like Is This Black Ops 2 needs. They need a start to a game where they're going to get really fired up, right? They need to really start to build that momentum because they are falling behind. As much as we, have thrown the paper out the window, they are definitely still in the running and in the conversation today. I mean, after the group stage qualifier that they had, how can you not talk about them?
Yeah, that was a really sick way to round it out as well. Get a little bit of momentum back, especially after last game with the Devotion Dream. Round the corner, ramping up, and just mowing through an entire squad. Lava Siphon got lit up early, and looks like they'll have a pretty smooth rotate in, as again, we are going to the west, but I throw it to our circle, our big map picture, to see where we're actually headed this game. As once again, I think very similar rotations are going to be effect, not exactly the same as they have been in games past.
First 2 games were eerily similar. Let's see the adjustments. Here's SD Sausage is going to fall early, but the trade coming in. Lots of great team play early on in this one, Diaz. Teammates coming to rescue others, and really no fight has gone one way completely. Some great damage onto Fitzel there, and that's going to be Ikiyami and Mushak in a bit of a tough spot early. They do want to win this fight. They are in a great spot to do so, jumping over the ledge, but taking tons of damage in doing so. Ikiyami is going to actually... It's going to be a finisher. you got to get the shield swap in. I think that's the tactical play there. You go for the finisher, you get the full shields, and now you've got a one-on-one. But are you going to be able to win it? It's, oh my goodness, a last bullet survival play from Ikiyami to keep Mushak involved in this one.
We are furious right now. It was so close, but this fight is exactly what Mushak needed. They have had such a difficult time through our first couple of games, and now being able to win that engagement, pick up 3 KP, res over by Climatizer, it's coming in at the perfect time for them. Legendary Nerds have their own fight over by Overlook that we spoke of earlier, a multi-team drop. Geriatrics start to move into Countdown, and we finally get a look at the border of this ring as Geriatrics have just crested it. We're moving up a little further north into the landslide area for the center of this zone.
A lot more early fighting going on in this one. The gloves are off, Dia. I mean, this isn't like anything we've seen so far tonight. Every single team seems like they're finding an engagement here and there and finding a way to get some damage done early, really wanting to make those kill points happen. And look, almost every team's involved. Look at this. The Geriatrics now looking to put some damage down on Dare Titan and company, and they're doing just that. Cyrexian getting some good damage. They know that there's a player trapped in this corner. They do manage to shut down the Watson. Oh, the Mirage. It's always going to come up in these fights, but Rom going to take down Garish to really open things up here, and this is now their fight to lose. A second down from Rom. Dare Titan does get a single knock, but it is not going to be enough here, Dia. The punch.
Get him! Get him! One more! One more! Yeah! All right, not the punch, but still good. Dr. Chef Boyardee go down, and as they do, Geriatrics get to profit. ROM and Cyrexian playing very aggressively there. I think Cyrexian is the most aggressive lifeline I've ever seen.
Battle lifeline. It's new meta.
It's a good look. Now, Legendary Nerds, they're nowhere near that engagement. Instead, opposite game plan. They've taken the fight at Overlook, done very well there, and their moves into the center of the map are going to be ones likely fraught with other teams. Plenty of squads going to be coming from the fragment area, as there are almost 4 teams neck and neck right now, making their way over. The center of the zone notably empty, as we don't have that second zone scan just yet, but this is where we can start looking at how squads are operating with that information for a little bit of a clue as to what might be coming next.
Sidebar, I love the noise the Nemesis makes when it shoots. It is so satisfying, especially when it really starts to like heat up, and it's like, you know, I don't know, it's very cool. Just like to shout that out. Sorry for the ADHD moment, chat. I just had to talk about that one. The Nemesis has been such a welcome change to a game, and one that I think has really breathed some life into what had sort of just become a bit of a stale AR meta. Between the flatline and the R301, people bouncing back and forth, everybody, you know, has an opinion. We see it in our content piece that's playing on the breaks of, you know, what do people like between those two? How about this Nemesis? You know what I mean? I really love the addition of this gun.
Yeah, I love the point about the AR meta as well. We've just been seeing, as you say, Flatline 301 for so long, and it's changed the way that people take gunfights in small but noticeable ways. It's not that same swing and beam, and a little bit more poke, a little bit more calculation, something that Junk Dogs have to do right now as they get poked and prodded at. A very nice shot from the Flatline, interestingly enough, taking out Junk Dogs and setting them back for the next game. Is this Black Ops 2 picking up steam in their third and final game on World's Edge?
Yeah, this is what you want to see from them, though, right? I mean, it's a slow first 2 games by their own standards, for sure. And so bouncing back here in this game 3, they've already got some kill points on the board. They've already got some momentum. The Evo's charged up for them, and obviously they're feeling it as they take these fights. That fight was won with them from relative ease. I mean, there's another team engaging them right now, but they're not going to have to spend time healing. They did so much damage there in such a short amount of time that they're going to be rewarded with not only position, but time to decide what they want to do next instead of worrying about healing.
Do they pick that landslide tunnel? You say decisions, and that's one that really jumps out at me when you're rotating up from Harvester. Going around through staging takes longer. Landslide simultaneously, a whole lot riskier. This is no surprise, though. Ernie and friends finding themselves dead center of the next zone. They've already got the read, knowing where we're going to end up as a party kicks off in the Mirage à Trois. Lava Fisher is really going to be where the party is at in the late game.
And we saw that a little bit early on in scrims, I believe, in the TELUS Esports Series, when we were allowing these teams to sort of get a feel for the competitive matches and, you know, allow some players to get some early games in, see what they like, see what they don't like. It's, again, these competitive games, regardless of the level, tend to play quite a bit differently than your typical ranked experience on a Friday night, Dia. And this is, you know, a zone that we did not see as a forgiving one when it came to looking at how those scrims went.
No, even when you're heading into the late game, it is, I think, one of the harshest pulls on World's Edge, because it separates that high and low ground so cruelly. If you're not able to make your way out of Lava Fisher, that's it. A lot of times you're relegated into a second place, especially with the lack of horizon that we've seen today. It's something we've got to keep track of.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't blame the teams for not playing a horizon here with how the first two zones have gone, but you're right. This one, a lot of high ground and a lot of open area that teams are going to be pushed into essentially covering. Shooting and running at the same time is sort of like walking and chewing gum. You can do it, but it's not recommended.
I haven't thought about chewing gum in so long. Yeah, I never really liked chewing gum as a kid. Wasn't a big fan. Yeah, I think it's because I had it in the car a little while, and now whenever I smell chewing gum, I get car sick. So I'm glad that these teams have to focus on one thing at a time, because it's saving me a lot of nausea.
The human brain is so interesting and puzzling at the same time.
It is. God, the long range. Why are these two teams shooting at each other? Like, they're so far away.
They're sending a message, Dia. That's what they're doing. It's about sending messages, you know? You got to say, hey, we don't care how far away you are. If you get close to us, you're going to eat a charge rifle bullet, and that's how it's going to be.
Here I thought carrier pigeons were the way that we would do this, but no. Why carrier pigeon when you can laser engrave a message of warning onto somebody's face? It's fair enough for Ernie and friends, as, again, their position really good, and it's what separated them from a lot of teams. And it's an odd thing to say when we've seen two thermal endings in a row, but the fact that they're able to pretty accurately predict where the zone is going to pull is a big differentiator that we saw determine teams' successes in the intermediate division, that we've already seen get Ernie and friends off to a strong start today. Other teams are going to have to start making those predictions, as they've got a pretty decent spot, but we've also got endings that'll pull to the south of Lava Fisher and even out towards the eastern side over by Countdown.
Mr. Mew is seeing those shots hit, and it is very satisfying to hit a charge rifle shot the way that you do there, but you got to be careful. You got to make sure. I know there's two teams in this building. Celebrator Differences is sitting flat on top of another squad, and both teams very well aware of the other, but no reason to really engage with one another. And so Mr. Mew and company are going to just kind of watch this. I mean, the caustic here is going to be absolutely difficult to deal with, especially if you're fighting up a set of stairs. But in the meantime, some fighting over here going on. Lots of damage being dealt back and forth. The Kraber indoors. That is unsafe and not recommended at home, folks.
Berserk gonna make the best use of it that they can. Instead, dropping down to find this thirst. Secure points while you can, as this Black Ops 2 seemed to be on the way out, and that's certainly a call that you would make if that's what you were expecting of the squad. Contest of Legends, they bite the dust. Celebrate Our Differences, able to reset with this caustic, but not quite quick enough. Losing Peter on this Gibraltar. A little bit of caustic gas buys some time, but Saturn's in trouble, and even this car not going to be able to save him. There's no more barrels out here, and even though they're off cooldown, there isn't time to set them up. It's a straight-up 1v1, as Super Chicken has to take the fight up against Zesty Sausage. Backed into the corner, the latrine will be his grave, and Celebrate Our Differences are down.
Unfortunate there that he has to die a Lannister death, you know? That is definitely not the place you want to be, especially when it's Mushat coming up the stairs on you. I mean, you just won a big fight against the team below you. You had a feeling that you were going to be able to take that one, but a third team coming in that quickly looking to punish, and it being one of the strongest teams in the lobby, what else can you do, really?
Not too much. Unfortunately, it Caustic very, very strong, but situationally, certainly. Ragnarok, one of our other squads, picking up the Newcastle. They've got the Octane as well, and haven't really shifted off of this game plan ever since game number 1. They've got a totally different read on how they want to play, and it's worked out to reasonable success. They're not dropping out too early. Simultaneously, they haven't made it too far into an end game yet. With this zone continuing to pull straight center of Lava Fisher, Octane is another one of those legends that can bypass the harsh reality of playing low ground and that very well could change the game for a team like Ragnarok.
Absolutely, and Ragnarok had a great game 1. Let's not forget about that. It wasn't as impressive a game 2. Lots of damage still coming in here from Ernie and friends. Just eating bullets here. Wawa taking a ton of damage. And Ernie and friends, content where they are, going to pop the Phoenix kit and just keep hanging out again. They don't need an incredible game here, Dia. They don't need to win the game. They just need to survive long enough, pick up a couple scrap kills along the way, and they're going to set themselves up beautifully for our swap over to Storm Point.
I mean, even so, they're collecting a lot of KP, or not KP, placement points right now. We're in the top 11. Everybody's already got 1 point. Remember that Ernie and friends need 8 on the day. As another squad drops, we'll be moving on to 2 placement points for all the surviving teams. And at that point, they only need 6 additional. Whether that comes from eliminating 2 squads, whether it comes from, say, surviving until the end game, whatever it is, those 6 points are going to be headed your way unless a squad pushes up to you. And Ernie and friends, what they're doing really well is making sure with that charge rifle that nobody feels comfortable crossing the open ground to them. Ragnarok doing a very similar thing up here. They've got their eyes on Berserk in the distance, and as long as you can dissuade teams from pushing you, you're going to be just fine.
They're just hanging out here, Ragnarok. Again, not a big reason to push. They do see that single player behind them, and I can imagine how enticing that seems, but at this point in a game, an overextension, even just one at the wrong moment, can cost you. These teams in this lobby have proven it might be the beginner lobby, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make the beginner mistake of not punishing you when you make a misstep here. Berserk going to get the nice upgrade there, a very timely one, especially as a solo player now having to fight uphill the zone to your back. Yeah, this is a lost cause being played well by Ragnarok. I mean, it's almost going to just have to be like a bit of mercy given here coming up the hill. There's not a lot you're going to be able to do.
Into the void, they're double swinging this right now. Berserk, and is this Black Ops 2 going to be fully expired? However, Hermit Crab principle is in play, and as Ragnarok leave their shell, somebody else comes in to take it. Midnight gets that first knock. It is answered back as Dwong's still alive is going to have to pick up the res on his teammates. Unable to do so just yet. Has the benefit of the Newcastle shield, but only a limited amount of time to pull this off. And with squads continuing to look for them and a Bloodhound scan no less, this is a limited time offer. ROM doesn't take any damage on the way out, and Dwongs tries to swing and just bites off more than he can chew. Ragnarok go down, and the Geriatrics rise again.
The Geriatrics, again, quietly having a really, really good day, I think. Like, they haven't been a team that's been, too much in the conversation towards these end games, but in the meantime, they're picking up placement points. They're picking up a significant amount of kill points along the way, and they're doing their darndest to continue to maintain themselves in that top 5 position on the overall leaderboard for the day. But this is exactly what you were talking about earlier, Dia. This Lava Fisher area is not kind, especially when you're a team like Ernie and friends who could just continue to punish these teams that have a lot of open ground to cover, whether you're doing it on the low ground or even on these bridges. There's just not a lot you're going to be able to do. That's that Octane running around, I think, that you were mentioning earlier, and you can even see there, if that's not an Octane, that might be a player going down.
We got to be asking ourselves as well, how on earth are we predicting these zones so perfectly? Ernie and friends are, again, maybe not dead center, but close enough, and with a building. This is a god-tier position to be in when the zone is pulling to Lava Fisher, especially as it is. And Ernie and friends have been here since Zone 1 Crackshot.
They haven't really had the move, right? I mean, they're just waiting for the game to say, hey, you got to get out of here, but they're just content in the position that they're at. I'm wondering, though, given that they haven't moved, is someone going to let them in? Door stuck. I I have
wondering.
to shout out a Counter-Strike meme, okay? Like, I have to. Oh no, Mushak, that's some damage that you don't want to see on Ikiyami. That's one of your more talented players there. You don't want to be losing them in this situation as they try to cross this open ground. A ton of damage coming in. Powerhouse doing their darndest to get some kill points here. Ikiyami does manage. Yeah, that's no way. No way. You just got to cut your losses there. If the rest of the team can somehow manage to make it out, then that's good. But this is an amazing position for Powerhouse. We've already seen a duo win today. Mr. Mew is going to shut one down as Ernie and friends. Another kill point on the board for them.
And in the top 7, they've managed to get themselves 3 placement points along with 2 kills so far. They've got 5 of the 8 points they need to be on match point going into the next round. And with only 6 squads left, they're continuing to accrue momentum as Mushak lose theirs yet again, eliminated in 7th place. They haven't been able to pick up enough steam today and are going to be sent back to the drawing board as we approach Storm Point.
Back to the drawing board it is. I mean, it was a tough ask for any team to get across that position. Zerny and friends going to once again replace that door. That's the value that they're bringing with their composition here. They realize how close these players are under them.
You said this earlier, but there's a lot of turtling. When and if you ever break that catalyst door, you've got plenty more backup with the Newcastle and pushing a building almost harder than it would be if there was a caustic in there, as we saw earlier. Powerhouse sitting around the outside right now, pretty chilling on this high ground, as they will have a nice spot for endgame. They might even get them a top 2 position. Not a whole lot of teams can contest them, and as we talked about, this is where we see the largest disparity between high and low ground. Powerhouse can certainly hang on to this and maybe even win the game from here, as a bunch of teams are going to have to exit the south side of this zone.
They just have to bide their time, right? And Ernie and friends played it to perfection in game 1 when they were the duo. Let's see if the script is flipped on them. Although Ernie and friends not looking like a team that's going to be leaving this position anytime soon. I mean, they can continue to just dole damage out. Already in the top 5, I mean, I believe they've done it with the kill points they have on the board. I believe that they've already secured themselves match point for the next one. So it's all gravy at this point, deal. Let's see what they can do.
Ooh, Ernie and friends exposed their back to Powerhouse. This is bad. Ernie's gambit climbs back onto the roof. There's only one more cooldown they have to buy some space, and it's that mobile shield. Out comes the catalyst wall. This is friendly for Ernie and friends, so they've got time to work with here. Find Unmuzzled separated in this half of the ring. 5 squads left, and they're going to push themselves up one more placement point by finishing off this solo as the Geriatrics contest against Powerhouse in this other half of the zone, given by the catalyst wall. Geriatrics dip back into the building real quick, needing to re-up on those shields as Powerhouse bite the dust. Ernie and friends having won their half, mean that we've got the last 2 squads. Geriatrics going up against Ernie and friends as they swing this catalyst wall. It goes down, and so are Ernie with very limited cover with the mobile shield down. Geriatrics are farming, and this is the aggressive lifeline. This is the Geriatrics in game number 3.
Absolutely not going to allow the 3-peat to happen tonight. Somebody else was going to try to take this on World's Edge. The Geriatrics, again, I mentioned they were quiet coming into this one. They were doing well for themselves, not in any kind of flashy fashion. And all it takes is one good game here, Dia, and they're going to catapult themselves further up the scoreboard. Huge game from the Geriatrics. Love what I saw out of them in that one. Again, very, very nice zone prediction, you gotta say, from Ernie and friends. So hats off to them there. But the fact that they weren't able to close this one out and the Geriatrics were able to take them down is probably a relief for the Geriatrics and everybody else in the lobby. Going into Storm Point, it is anybody's game, but if you see a team take 3 of the first games of the night, all 3 in a row, I mean, you've definitely got 14 kill points for the Geriatrics. Yeah, I shouldn't have called them quiet. They must have heard me, because that is a loud game from them, and that is one that they're going to absolutely cherish. They're going to look back on that one as like, hey, this is the game right here where we really pushed ourselves up the scoreboard. You know, teams like Mushak, 10 kill points on the board, not too shabby for them. Is this Black Ops 2 and Mushak, again, not probably finishing as high as they would have liked, but you've got some new teams in the conversation here. I really like this game 3 scoreboard. I like how it's going to lay out here. The Apes were able to do some damage, have a bit of a consistent game, not a huge one, but a consistent one. Rose as well, a team that wasn't even potentially going to make it here today, able to finish in 3rd with 4 kill points. That's match point for you.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Rose got some more points on the board, and I love that you highlight Apes as well, because their consistency cannot go unnoticed. Geriatrics, we got their double-edged sword. We know they're super aggressive. It's bitten them before, but this game, it pulls them out on top with a lot of KP, so rocketing them ever closer. We do have those leaderboards when we get back from the break, which means that we've got to go to one first. And before we do, I want to remind everybody in chat that you've got the opportunity to tell us what your audience experience is, whether you're a player or whether you've been watching us for a long time in the TELUS Esports Series 2. Exclamation point feedback will take you right to the survey, and it would mean the world to us to know what you think of this event, because we're making it for you. So let us know while we're in the break, and we'll see you when we're back.
When I first heard about the TELUS Esports Series, I was like, there's no way.
I was absolutely stoked.
You don't really hear about esports at all in Canada, let alone from a big company like TELUS.
Canada does have a scene, and we do have people who are thriving towards getting us into that bigger picture.
2 versus 1, and it should be their game. The Bronze Bonobos from second, now finally find first.
Simply put, the TELUS Esports Series is esports for everyone. It's our take of what we think the esports industry should look like and where we think it should go. It's way more fun to compete for something when there's something on the line. And the TELUS Esports Series gives players of all skill levels opportunities to experience that. We really want to make the gaming experience more fun for everyone, and we want to help the gaming industry evolve and grow the way that it should. And I think the time is right for it.
My name is V Roses.
My name is Tay.
My name is Matt, otherwise known as Zilla.
Actually, my coworker who inspired me to get into Apex. Currently, I'm a competitive Apex player for the St. Clair Saints at St. College. I played Apex casually since Season 7 for a couple seasons, and I peaked Masters twice, and I didn't really think about it until when I moved here and I found SEC.
What started me in my journey as a content creator was my competitive side. I used to play soccer, so you just get this rush, and you're like, oh, I want to be part of something bigger or like better, see where it could take me, you never know.
Probably about a year ago, I was just playing games for fun since I was 11 or 12, but back on console. When I got my computer, it just opened up a bunch of new possibilities, and I had a lot of friends throughout Winnipeg that were associated with like Lotus 8. They needed somebody to play Apex, and that was the game that I was spending most of my time on.
My advice to aspiring competitors would be to put yourself out there. I know us gamers, we're pretty introverted, but networking and showcasing your skills online really helps, especially when it comes to getting recognition and putting your name out there.
Honestly, just be yourself and being consistent. I feel like consistency is like one of the biggest things because people like seeing consistency. For competitors, muscle memory, like sometimes before I go to bed, I go in the firing range and I practice so I can keep the muscle memory of like the patterns of the guns, the recoil patterns.
My advice for aspiring competitors would be to follow your dreams. Anybody can do any of this pro player stuff. Anybody can be anyone they want to be. Practice a lot. Find a good group of people who are willing to do that with you and have mutual goals.
World's Edge.
World's Edge.
World's Edge. That's it. I'm a Wraith main. I love World's Edge. I love my buildings.
World's Edge.
World's Edge, of course. I'm a Caustic main.
R301.
The flatline does so much damage. The hip fire is insane. Now it's 10 times better than the R301. Definitely the flatline.
R3.
Flatline.
R301 every day of the week.
Oh, 100% the card.
Volt.
That's tough.
Car.
Car.
I'm gonna have to go with the Volt. 3x on the 301, the Hemlock, or the Charge Rifle?
2x Bruiser.
2 times Bruiser.
2 times HCOG.
The 2 to 4 is insane. It used to be the 3 times, but now it's the 2 to 4.
I like the Assault class.
Assault.
Oh, Wraith. Oh, my baby girl, she got a buff, and the animations with her hands look so good. I was like, oh my god, they spoiled her. I was so happy.
I'd definitely say Controller is my favorite, mainly because I am a Caustic main.
Probably the controller. I'm more of a zone type player as well as an anchor, so controller would be great for me.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The TELUS Esports Series 2 continues here and now as the beginner division finals just rounded out our first set of matches. World's Edge is done, at least for now, as we've got 3 more games on Storm Point. And let's take a look at the leaderboards, Crackshot, because World's Edge was fraught with mostly Ernie and friends, but a decent bit of spice there at the end.
Absolutely right, and there's been teams that have been climbing their way up. You know, Apes with a very good one is this Black Ops 2 starting to put themselves in the conversation here. Ernie and Friends, the only team eligible if they're able to win this game to take the entire thing on the match point format, but the Geriatrics not too far behind them with the performance that they just pulled out. I mean, this is where we saw last week where the script gets flipped, and now Ernie and Friends, you have to make sure you maintain that mental. I'm going to keep coming back to it because it's all about how you play these games and how you're able to, you know, mentally reset between each of the games. Because now if you're even the Geriatrics, right, the longer this night goes on, the longer you're going to feel like you're up for a shot clock violation. You have so many, you know, points to work with. This is your game to lose, and if you're just not able to take it over the finish line, a lot of things can happen in Apex Legends that are not friendly and not fun to deal with. Positions that you get caught in, you know, even the best of teams that we see week in and week out, Mushak there, they had a tough rotation that they weren't able to do in that last game. And I mean, it's the way the cookie crumbles for you sometimes. So Ernie and Friends, the Geriatrics, Apes even a little bit in that conversation. You know, a couple teams eligible to push themselves into match point, but ultimately it's going to be up to Ernie and Friends to see if they can shut this one down early before anybody's able to stay hot on their tail.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing about Apex Legends is, you know, I commentated a lot of esports in my time, and there are many games that are just one person versus one person, or they're a team versus a team, and you can control a lot of variables. You can get a lot of information there. My favorite thing about Apex is that you can't control everything. There are going to be 19 other teams that all have their own win conditions, their own game plans, and it's your job to work around those the best you can in each individual, very different game. As we pull to different sides of the map, as we switch maps, adaptation is always at the forefront of any high-tier Apex player's mind, and it's at the forefront of all the players here in the beginner division as we drop into our first game on Stormpoint.
Absolutely. You know, this is super exciting for me to see how they're going to adapt onto Stormpoint, because if anything has been shown in these first 3 games, these teams adapt very well. These are the you know, the best of the best teams out of that beginner division, teams that have pushed themselves to improve every single week. You know, the thing about the beginner division is that you're going to get some teams that are potentially a lot of, you know, experienced Apex players that have been casually chilling around and playing this game maybe since it came out, but they've never touched the ranked mode before, right? They don't necessarily have the same competitive feel, but the gun skill is there. Ragnarok not in a great position themselves with the player getting knocked early. See if they can reciprocate some of that damage and recover this situation, because the last thing you want to do if you're Ragnarok, this is a chance for you to be pulling ahead and push yourself into a good position here. Midnight, he's been known to hit some pretty clutch shots with the wingman, seeing if he can get it done with the Volt as they do try to get this res off. I believe D-Wongs is going to be able to survive. The smoke provided from Danny is going to buy them enough time to disengage, and that is some scary moments early on if you're Ragnarok, because they know they need some consistency here. They need to make sure they're guaranteeing themselves, you know, 10 to 15 points from this game to continue to stay in that match point conversation.
Really clutch play out of Midnight, and can't emphasize that enough, being willing to take the wide swing on this Octane, a legend that's been out of the meta for so long, gives them the opportunity to now reset, move up to a hopefully safer position. And I say hopefully because the edge of the map was very contested going into this game. We got almost nobody dropping dead center. Instead, places like Wall, High Point, Lightning Rod, Fish Farms all had multiple teams in their vicinity. LMG even sticking close to the edge of the map over by Launchpad.
Absolutely, LMG not going to be contested too early on here, and that's a blessing and a curse sometimes. Sometimes you need that early contest to get you active in the game, to get get the blood flowing, and also that those Evo upgrades of teams being near you can pay dividends in the long run when it comes to taking those first engagements, even if they are a little bit in the middle, trying to bust through this door, really having trouble with it. Epicus Gamers drop a member. That's an in James to fall early. So you have Orange Chicken and company are able to continue to push this advantage that they have developed here in this situation. Petreza swinging, or Peteza rather, is swinging, trying to find some damage himself. Merbolts with some good damage in, but not going to be able to make the shotgun sing. Epicus Gamers bow out early. They're our first team to fall.
Fortunately enough, for every loser of an early game fight, there is a winner, and Shoot, Hide, Win have executed on their game plan. They have hidden, they have shot, and they have won temporarily. The legendary nerds are here to ruin that. Third party was incoming. Lil Two Bags even picked up that initial knock onto Merble with the missile barrage, and there's a squad right below you trapped in the building. We know the zone isn't pulling here. Both of these squads don't want to stick around for too long, and yet picking up that 3 KP, as you illustrated earlier, is such a juicy beginning to any game.
It's a feel good, right? You get started off with those 3 kill points, you know, like, hey, not only is that going to boost your confidence in other fights, but now you're going to look at those kill points and be like, okay, you know, these placement points are now worth even more as the game, you know, continues on. And these placement points continue to rise. See, Rose is on the outside looking in of the circle. Not going to be taking a ton of damage here. And they are in this position going to be able to outrun it. But they cannot outrun a team in front of them. That's an issue. And that's one that we'll have to see how they play out. Are both teams going to run for the zone? I mean, this is always the question, right? Especially in these, you know, lower divisions. How comfortable are teams playing in the red?
Valkolt's available for Rose if they want to opt out of this fight. A little bit of dock action will make sure that they're nice and healthy for this, and up they go into the sky, see if they can avoid the engagement. Valkolt's from high ground do get a lot of value on Storm Point. They can make their way over towards Storm Catcher should they wish to. Gravity Cannon available as well, and it looks like that's the play for them. Not a whole lot of contest on the drop. We're going to be hitting this hillside with plenty of cover, time to heal, and move further forward for Rose.
Yeah, the fact that they're able to get out of there, that Valkolt is always a really good X factor to have, especially on the Storm Point where you're right. I mean, the value that you're going to be able to get off of it, the distance that you're going to be able to cover because of how vertical this map is in comparison to World's Edge. I mean, huge from Rose to get out of there. They are being scanned currently, so it may not be easy goings as they continue to try to find this POI transition. There's players hot on their tail. They avoided the fight initially, but are they going to have to turn back and fire some bullets back up the hill? That's going to be the question here as they make their way over. There's lots of teams fall. Yeah. Tyrexian. You knew it was him.
He saw another lifeline and he was like, there can only be one. Running at Rose. The geriatrics are taking absolutely no prisoners, and the Bangalore ult makes sure that they'll be able to thirst out Forky, picking up at least the initial KP. Bloodhound scan reveals Unmuzzled. Forky's still technically up, so we'll see what Unmuzzled can do for now as he tries to attract some attention around the side.
They have to be rezzing him, right?
Away. Geriatrics has got another team right next door to them, so playing things a little bit more reserved for now, but it's only a matter of time. They, as we said earlier, one of the most aggressive teams in the lobby.
And they're not afraid, right? I mean, their name is definitely not who they are, and they do get the res. I was wondering how Forky was able to stay alive with such low HP. I was like, somebody's got to be holding on this res right now.
Geriatrics, I think, are taking the same rotation, though. So Rose, far from comfortable just yet. Cyrexian walking right by them. Almost goes down, but turns around with the R99. It says, again, I am the lifeline. This time, he will go down unmuzzled, striking back as the rest of Rose show up, trying to salvage this fight that has been going on for so long for them. They got the small bits of heals off the dock. Reverend, however, turns around with that wingman and snipes out Forky, leaving unmuzzled as the last one left alive and still eating the red.
Yeah, this is, you know, a rock and a hard place, right? I mean, you've got pressure on you from not only the zone, but this distance that you're now going to have to cover to stop taking damage. You've lost both of your teammates. Are you going to, you know, potentially try and make the hero play and grab some banners on your way by? The Geriatrics certainly look like that's what they want to do with their fallen teammate, Cyrexian, the battle lifeline in the lobby. Definitely made his presence known, but has paid the ultimate price for it. Contest of Legends looking to get involved a little bit here. The smokes from Babalu have proven useful in the past, and now even more useful. Oh, he didn't fully clear the corner. Oh no! Do they realize? He gets away. He gets away. I cannot believe that. I mean, Apex is a bit of a different game, but you know, coming from other games, you know, when you do the formality clear, you like half clear a corner because you're like, nah, he's not there. But then they turn out to be there. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, this time it's not going to kill Contest of Legends, but it will deny them the point. And Babalu, quite a bit of danger, does get some help from the teammates to manage to take down the aggressors. Contest of Legends actually putting up some really serious sustain in this choke point. Not a lot of teams able to make their way through here effectively. And Alpha 06, exemplifying why that is so many squads pay attention on this rotation and have a lot of lines of sight coming from, say, be it Prowler Island, the high ground outside of Cascade, or, well, really wherever you'd like. Lines of sight ultimately taken down the apes as well, since there were a million different ways that it could be accessed and taken down. In the meanwhile, we got our first Horizon game, and one that's actually doing pretty well. Mushak, unfortunately, not able to do the same as they go down, and we're into the top 15. Stormpoint proving a much faster game.
Absolutely. I mean, that third game from World's Edge, we saw the pace, you know, turn it up a notch a bit, but it doesn't look like things have changed very much here in the fourth game on Stormpoint. It's definitely going to be early action. It's going to be teams fighting it out for these strong POIs in the late game and seeing if they can find some kill points early. Again, they're going to start to feel that pressure of the fact that Ernie and Friends, a team that is still currently on the map, can end everyone's evening right here.
That's one of the things we got to keep track of with the Geriatrics as well, because we saw them a little earlier on, of course, in quite some trouble. And that, you know, for a team high on the leaderboards may not be the most concerning thing. What is concerning is that they have this game to make their way to match point. You want to get it done as fast as possible, and keep our eyes on whether they're able to get that res on Cyrexian, because it'll mean so much for their end of game standings and the amount of points they're able to accumulate.
Right, and they need to, I mean, they only need 5, right? They only need 5 in this one to get to the next one. They need 5, and they need to make sure that Ernie and Friends don't win. And this is where the interesting thing starts to come in, right? You get some damage on a player, and you have an inkling that it might be a player from a team that could win in this situation. And do you force push that? You know, are we going to see a situation like that? That's going to be the question. It's going to be an ultimate gamble situation for them, or they play it safe, hope for the best. I mean, the odds of Ernie's and Friends just winning this game outright still definitely in question. They do have a good position once again, and they've showed us in the past, Dia, that positions like this are where they tend to do some of their best work.
That's certainly true. Ernie and Friends once again have given the charge rifle over to their catalyst. Icarus, unfortunately, going down. Jurassic Park claims all the lives, not even able to make it there. Very aggressive composition from Kogeko as well, with the Horizon, Seer, and Ash. There's a lot of ways to get on top of you, a lot of ways to swing a fight, as each of these ults individually can basically solo win you an engagement.
Oh, Legendary Nerds biting the dust there. That was a quick fight. And is this Black Ops 2? Again, some momentum building kills. They weren't able to snowball it in the last one on World's Edge. See if they're able to do it here with 13 squads remaining. Cog Echo doing some good damage here. Trying to put some pressure on. They are going to fly into the building. There's a lot of targets to aim at. Not a lot of bullets left on any of these players. And it looks like Unmuzzled could be the one to try to hold on if they can. Cannot get the
One
shield
more shot.
That's it. Rose falls. Cog Echo is going to do their best to stay alive. And a Prowler in the building.
Dude, that Prowler actually could have killed him too.
Who let the Prowler in here? Who did that?
Yeah, so aggressive. Now, Cog Echo could breathe a sigh of relief. Prowlers aside, they've managed to take one of the hardest fights in Apex, the ones where you're just cold taking the 3v3, no cooldowns, no cracks, no nothing. They've made it work. The problem for them is that there is still a big journey ahead of them. Pulling into Barometer means that they've got to cross a lot of open space, and that Ash Portal might actually be the thing that gives them a safer rotation than expected. We'll pull further into Barometer, and we're not the only ones that have this information, of course. What you see on your screen, every team is working with, so you want to get as close to the center as you can, as a general rule, unless you've got an inkling as to where it'll pull. We've got quite a few squads expecting that it'll be up on Barometer height, and that's honestly pretty decent play. Meanwhile, down in the south, another really common ending has Powerhouse holding down the only building there.
Okay, here we are. Cyrexian's got pressure on his rear, and that's the end of Cyrexian. I mean, I didn't know if they were potentially going to get out of there, but Babalu in Contest of Legends, that's the geriatrics down.
I don't think they got 5 points.
They may not have. Did they not?
I
It's going to be tight, dude. That might be. That's either going to be like a 4 or 5 point game.
Yeah, that is very scary for them. Now we gotta wonder what's going on with the rest of the lobby. Who is picking up the majority of these kills, of these points to keep the games going? Because, of course, there's always that chance that it ends just like that.
Right, that's the thing that we keep mentioning at the beginning of these games. Anything can happen, right? And it's going to be tight on the math there. I'm not sure that I can quick math that one in my head. We'll have to see afterwards if they've managed to do it, because it would be an absolute heartbreaker if, you know, they have to go into our second Storm Point game needing 1 point to reach match point. Like, at that point, are you going to just drop in and try to kill anybody who's ahead of you in the scoreboard? That's where these things have to start. You know, you start considering these things if you're in that position. Not a position I'd envy to be in.
8 packs unfortunately go down, 10 squads left, and certainly geriatrics are going to have their hearts tested right now, because we've got one very notable team still alive, Ernie and Friends, dead center of Barometer, holding one of the positions that we saw Black Ops 2 Siege earlier. They got relatively meager cover, but for a squad running Newcastle, they're going to have a lot of staying ability as we get later into this game. Gecko, with the Ash Portal, with the Horizon, have the opportunity to push up onto height, but are getting longbowed at from miles away. So their play will have to take them a little further south, and that does appear to be where the ring is going. Lots of open ground here, a little bit of height still in it, but not an ideal position for 99% of teams. We highlighted this, though, earlier. Powerhouse have gambled right.
Yeah, I mean, this is a gamble, right? Because you're not, it's a gamble in the sense that you go here early enough, you're not going to see a lot of action, and you're going to loot up, and that's basically everything you're going to have to work with for the rest of the game. You've got, you know, Carl here and the syrup chugging champ. I mean, they're only on blue shields at this point. You look at everybody else in the lobby, you're seeing a lot of purple and red, and just that little shield difference can make a huge difference in these endgame battles.
Ernie and Friends. Well, like I said, with that Newcastle, plenty of cover, plenty of staying power. Haven't even been forced to use the mobile shield, but most importantly, they've got height. And they've got height that's going to lash them into the next zone, perhaps even beyond. See what they do with it is right now they're opting to give it up in a very surprising turn of events, not wanting to tank that Bangalore ultimate, instead get themselves a better position in zone.
Powerhouse, they've been pressured, but doesn't look like they want to engage too much here. There is some fighting going on the other side of the map, as Kavanunu is going to find one, and Kavanunu, new kill leader in the lobby. Is this Black Ops 2 going to knock down Tim from HR as well? So
No!
That might be a complaint. Yeah, you might see that one. You might see your hours docked for that one.
Yeah. Ernie and friends drop down, look for that kill, don't get any. Remember, their goal isn't kills this game. They're picking them up where they can. As long as Ernie and friends are alive, doing the absolute best. They're fulfilling their win condition. Oh, yeah, we saw it lined up. Nice shot from Ernie's Gambit.
Oof. I like it. I like it. I love seeing shots like that.
Oh my god, they get away with this. That's illegal. Being able to pull off a Valkyrie ultimate in the middle of nowhere with the corner of a Catalyst wall. That's 2 ultimates now expended. Where are they going to land? Remember, plenty of staying power for this team. They've spotted out the competition right below them. Up is going to go that Newcastle wall. You have to imagine they know. They pinged enemies are here, but they haven't actually addressed the fact that Midnight and Danny are right below them.
Do they know?
I thought they did.
This goes,
Apparently
the
they don't.
The longer this goes, the more you wonder if they do, right? They can't know. There's no way they have their back turned with the scopes down sight while fighting a team on high ground, and they know that there's a team right below them.
Oh, this is bad. This is really not good for Ernie and friends. I have never felt so much tension as they've got Ragnarok right below them. Their games, their chances at closing it out now could be ruined at any moment. Danny just trying to avoid being spotted. We know there's a squad out to the east, and unfortunately, Ernie's Gambit won't live to see the rest of it. That's likely going to be a full thirst knockdown shield. Not enough as he gets turned into a box. And now Ernie and friends are just a duo. Ragnarok do get found out. Their fight out from the low ground has Danny hitting a Phoenix kit. 10 seconds on this with 1 HP, and it looks like he's going to be able to stick it. No, in comes the missile swarm. He goes down.
Oh, he was so close to get. If he gets that off, that's a complete game changer. But the gamble just doesn't pay off there. Midnight's still here. They're very aware that you're still here in this position, and not a lot you're going to be able to do here as Ragnarok falls.
Oh, no.
Contest of Legends having a pretty good game of their own here. They've managed to shut down a couple very solid squads. Ernie and friends still do have 2 members. They've got the job done with 2 before. We'll see if they can do it here. This zone continuing to get tight, but there is still quite a bit of wiggle room for only 4 squads remaining.
YOLO Jacket, underrated play right there. Got booted out of the zone by the jump pad post-mortem from Midnight. So still an active play that did take the player out for just a little while. Now Ernie and friends, they're in a real trouble spot with the arc stars flying in at them. Hannah is so low, and it doesn't look like they'll be able to survive this. There's just no safe place to be. They're trying to use this bit of the catalyst wall, but they are spotted, and Smack pops the med kit. How much longer can this go on? Ernie and friends have made top 4, but they need to get the first place.
The first place is all that's going to do it here, and that's all you've got to fight for it. But it does not look like it's going to be able to happen. I mean, Contest of Legends, they're doing a really good job of not fighting off more than they can chew here. They're just... He gets off the shield bat. Is always going to get the single fight here. They do get the single. Oh my goodness, Ernie and friends is going to fall. Contest of Legends throws caution into the wind. Charges at a strong player, knowing they have the advantage, and now they have a pretty solid position of their own.
And just like that, we're going to another game. Contest of Legends are the ones to give it to us. Ernie and friends back to the drawing board, but now we face an end game with Is This Black Ops 2 making it to top 3 once more, and perhaps even able to close it out. They've been in that struggle for the #1 spot for so long. Can they take it against the up-and-comers of game number 4 in Contest of Legends?
Seeing if they can get some early damage off. Berserk is going to be able to shut down Babaloo, who's going to fall, and now in a tough position, Contest of Legends. I once liked this position, not so much anymore. Is this Black Ops 2 going to use the chaos they've created to reposition it? They've actually essentially locked Contest of Legends in a tough position. The longer they wait here, the worse things are going to get for them. I wonder if they realize that this res is coming off. I don't know if anybody has any nades left to deal with that. Syrup chugging champ is going to get absolutely melted. That's the solo gone. And now some damage coming out from Contest of Legends. Are either team really going to be at full health for this duel? It is uncertain at this point. Seer ult is coming out. Seeing if he can find some damage is Oski, trying to get something done. Babalu is going to be trying to climb. Another player jumps right over top of him. There's so much chaos going on in this pit right now, but it does look like it is favoring is this Black Ops 2 at this point, and they will be your Game 4 champions.
And a well-earned victory for the squad that was competing for #1 the entire split. Through the regular season, they were beat out by Mushak, ultimately not able to clinch it. But here on Storm Point, they find their happy place deep into the finals and push us forward for another game. This is peak, is this Black Ops 2, and I really like what we saw from them and from every squad in those top 3 as well, because it wasn't just them dictating how the lobby would play out. We got some serious gameplay out of Contest of Legends.
They played super well, Contest of Legends, in that one, and I don't want to overshadow the fact that Is This Black Ops 2 did take that one, but Contest of Legends really put together a great game. 14 kills. You know, they're not going to be able to top Is This Black Ops 2, but that's certainly a game that's going to catapult you up towards that match point standing. Not sure math-wise if that's going to get them over the hump. I'm not. I think they're going to be close.
This is a ridiculous... This is ridiculous. Crack shot. 17 kills, 14 kills for our first and second place. That's over half of the players dying to just these two teams. Incredible gameplay out of Is This Black Ops 2 and Contest of Legends. We look a little further down. Powerhouse unfortunately didn't get the kills, but with the zone prediction alone, they picked up a lot of placement, rocketing themselves up, perhaps not as high, but still up in the leaderboards, where Ernie and friends get cut short. Their time to shine, not quite yet. Looking down a little further, Geriatrics, 3 kills, 1 placement point, should put them just 1 off of match point, making this again a game where we're looking at Ernie and friends to see whether they can win it. To find out whether Game 5 is it, whether we go to another, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
When I first heard about the TELUS Esports Series, I was like, there's no way.
I was absolutely stoked.
You don't really hear about esports at all in Canada, let alone from a big company like TELUS.
Canada does have a scene, and we do have people who are thriving towards getting us into that bigger picture.
2 versus 1, and it should be their game. The Bronze Bonobos from second, now finally find first.
Simply put, the TELUS Esports Series is esports for everyone. It's our take of what we think the esports industry should look like and where we think it should go. It's way more fun to compete for something when there's something on the line. And the TELUS Esports Series gives players of all skill levels opportunities to experience that. We really want to make the gaming experience more fun for everyone, and we want to help the gaming industry evolve and grow the way that it should. And I think the time is right for it.
They're on a car.
Oh, yeah.
We're on a high-speed
They're
chase.
running. Face him.
Yo, what's going on?
Crack.
What is this game?
I'm lagging.
Yo, spike my gun. I down.
No down.
Je te tape dessus, je te tape dessus. Il est sur le pad, il est mort. I down. Chill.
Oh no, down here, bro. Three. Actually three. I down one. Doctor cracked the ball. Will you shoot the catalyst? He's down. I'm the grenadier. One more in the corner.
Yep.
Dead.
He's going.
I got her.
Box,
You're dead.
the box, block all things.
I got her.
Nice.
Teams out there. Last team. Nice.
Watson Fence is my king. Bronze Bonobos, they're popping in on the other end of this engagement. Seeing if they do, Molten Mania almost completely shreds a red shield, starts to make this impossible. And what an angle! Not have a lot of cover, but I believe have a little bit of low ground.
Never mind.
Play maybe a head peek, and oh my lord! It's the dreams of yet another cut short.
Again, how do you push this without putting your team in too much jeopardy? That's the question.
So few legends that can actually find you a different way up there. Horizon being one, Pathfinder being another now, but here it comes. Shinbi's already put this out, and it means that Big Smashers get to take the fight up against the two-man squad of level 4 Gucci Purse and wipe the floor with them, along with Lane as well. I mean, LTB got a lot of competitive experience here. The thing, they don't have a ton of cover proficiency. Lane left wondering what the next move is going to do, trying to push Marshneck nearly as well as the crafted Volt that Marsh has. Up goes the Catalyst Wall. It forces out the Seer ult, and Wee Poutine are going for the end here. Take the swing on Molten Mania, and yet he gets knocked. Pergix fighting back as Wee Poutine do trade in the 1-for-1. Proton gets some good damage down with the R99, and it is enough. Push them out. The Bronze Bonobos have to drop down, have to take this 2v2 against the Milkers, and now a chance to drop down to play this Wraith knockdown shield. They keep him down, and yet Bronze Bonobos have cover as well. 2 versus 1, and it should be their game. The Bronze Bonobos from second, now finally find first. Oh, we're back, folks. It's time for more TELUS Esports Series 2. And you know what that means, Crackshot? It means we get to take a look at the leaderboards and find out whether my math was right. Find out whether all of our math was right and how much we need to be freaking out about this next game.
It's been a while since you see, is this Black Ops 2? Now you got to be concerned if you're everybody else in the lobby. We're already concerned about Ernie and friends, but now that's 2 out of 20 teams that have a chance to take it, and that number is only going to grow. The Geriatrics just have to finish in, I believe it's 15th or better, and they're going to be on match point themselves. Apes is just one good game away really here. Ragnarok, it can be said of them as well. Contest of Legends is now in the conversation to reach it eventually. Mushak is a team that I'm surprised to see that they're where they are on the scoreboard right now. This really just not their night, it seems like, unfortunately for them. But I guess it's to the fortune of other teams you're now given the chance, like Ernie and Friends, Apes, not teams that you would have considered to be favorites to win. But I mean, you're looking at teams right now that are moving up and down the scoreboard that had the chance to do so by performing consistently over the evening so far.
Yeah, is this Black Ops 2 really, I don't know, burning some incense or something for the downfall of Mushak? Because as close as they've been through the regular season, this is not representative of the real close nature of these two teams. Mushak sitting at 17 points, Black Ops 2 almost 40 points their superior in the finals so far. Mushak are still looking for that magic sauce that they had in the regular season to bring them up towards the top of the leaderboards, but only Ernie and Friends and Is This Black Ops 2 have the opportunity to end these games now, send themselves home the winner. As you say, Geriatrics on the precipice, but we've got 2 very strong contenders for a number 1 spot, though Is This Black Ops 2 just managed to find their first win. I'd expect them to find one a lot earlier, and I am by no means sitting back in my chair as we load into game number 5.
Oh yeah, sitting up at this point in the evening. Got some good water in me. Remember, hydration check to all the gamers watching out there. Stay hydrated, gamers. Let's have a great game 5 here. Storm Point in front of us once again. A very, very different game from what we'd seen so far this evening in the previous one. We'll see where the circle pulls. Some very interesting plays at the end there. That Valcult standing out to me. Where Ernie and friends sort of had their pick of positions, and they chose a rather awkward one, maybe not to their not to what they would have noticed, but they basically put themselves on a platform with no cover between 3 different teams. That's
Pretty
a tough one.
unfortunate. Even Newcastle can't fix that, right?
Yeah.
Ragnarok, nice beam out of Midnight. Again, clutching things up for the team, but has to fight up into height, and there's just not a whole lot of ways to do that. Nade is good. Doesn't find the knock, however, and needing desperately a way to keep Ragnarok in this game. As you said, they are one of our squads that is just that one good game away from being on match point. Equalizing the height will help him out. See if these wingman shots can find their mark, as Catalyst doors can still be broken with the single nade, saving it for now. Laying out some decent damage, and now looking for the refrag as he jumps in and beams Valkyrie, finding almost the knock, 1 bullet away, but he can't do it, and Ragnarok go down.
And that's Rose to take them down. They'll even manage to grab the banner. I mean, it's so early on. They're pretty close to probably several respawn beacons where they're going to be able to sort of reset this game, 3 kill points the better at this point. And LMG, a similar situation, although they aren't quite out of dodge yet.
Rexy down, and Zeris actually eating some sniper shots. They don't have control of the zip line, and that is devastating for a team on height. It sends too much Contra right down onto the low ground, and you gotta imagine that there is chase to be given soon. Does back off, eats the PK. Will he get the shield bat off? Rounding the corner, he does get it, but he doesn't whip out the gun in time, finding a little bit of flesh with that Volt. He just tickles Franku for a little bit of damage before eating the dirt himself. It's just up to Zeris, and with the Valkyrie and not too much else, LMG look to be headed to their graves.
Oh yeah, that could spell the end of the game for sure. And the team that's hot on their tails, the Franku they're playing very aggressively to continue to fight that. First, they knock you off the high ground. They know that they're fighting against a duo at that point, and they're going to continue to try to press that advantage. So Zeris just going to try to stay away. And again, Ragnarok, they need these placement points. So, this is going to be a situation where you're going to look for him. Oh, geriatrics.
Oh my god.
This is not good. This is really not good.
God. They need 1 point. They need to survive for just 4 more squads.
Oh, what? No, come on. Even my heart's pulling for him at this point, Thea.
He's one Nemesis bullet away from going down, but Cyrexian, nothing if not aggressive. He's gonna go back in. He eats 1 shot. I've never seen HP this low, and finally gets that dock, but don't imagine that it will be enough, as already got people knocking on the door. Gonna jump back onto the low ground. Pump for 105, but does not get the knock as Powerhouse power clear them.
That is, I don't think they got a kill. It's gonna be
nothing.
So they're just 1 point away again, and they've got to just sit there and hold their breath now. That is a heartbreaking situation to be in if you're the geriatrics, where you had this great string of games in the middle of the night here, and it could all just fall apart just like that as these teams continue to push towards match point. 2 of the stronger in the lobby already there and just need a W here.
Tide win. One of those teams that's been accruing momentum over the last couple of games. They're facing off against a Mad Maggie, but fishing a gun. Feeling real comfortable on these peaks, just ego shelling it all the way. Finally goes down to Zesty Sausage, but Shoot-Hide win. We're certainly in the driver's seat. Nice beam out of I Love Math, but he gets it right back and double as Shoot-Hide win. Now just have 1 member left. There's a lot of damage that's already been dealt, but the punch isn't going to connect, and Orange Chicken is 1v3, and that's the last thing that he'll see.
They could not hide, nor could they win in that situation. Mushak, yeah, I mean, that's a fight that you have to win if you're that team right now. That you need to not go out super early in this game. You need to rack up some KP. You need to close that gap, and this is what we talked about was going to be such a benefit. Like the teams that are going to benefit the most, it's going to be such a difference maker for them. Are now teams like Ernie and friends, as well as is this Black Ops 2, their adversaries, who now have, you know, the pressure might be on them to not let the teams catch up, but at least they're already playing end game tactics. They don't have to rush to get there.
Exactly. And actually, speaking of that end game, it does look like we'll be pulling pretty significantly into this eastern side of the map. All of the center already taken out as Mill no longer part of the equation, perhaps a little bit of millage, but at this point you want to be setting yourself up actually in positions like Ernie and Friends. This is a great spot to hold, and it's a little different from what we normally see Ernie and Friends do, where they're positioned dead center. Right now they're playing up in what is largely considered the best Valcult on Storm Point. You sit here, you hold this area, and whenever you want, you can Valcult to wherever you want.
Oh yeah, you can cover point A to point B pretty well for me. I don't think they expected to get contact this early. The Seer coming through. Ernie and Friends going to fire themselves off and try to get out of dodge. Well, they can. All three. Oh, Ernie is just barely going to survive. Should be able to get this bat off and should be able to find some cover. I doubt that the team that's done damage to them is going to bravely fire themselves across that catapult, or maybe I've spoke wrong.
I know it's really tough to call at this point because there are also teams that need points. Not everybody's playing like Ernie and Friends, where they just need to survive. For some squads, it's do or die time in every single team fight, and Ernie and Friends are playing with that awareness. They catalyst barricade up some of their doors, make sure that they are really, truly safe in here, and now have the opportunity to reset, get their health back, and poke their heads out. See if they are safe, truly, for this next rotation. This is where the Valcult will come in, not the one that they got denied earlier, but still a pretty darn good one for making their way into the zone.
Yeah, they're going to cover a lot of ground and create some separation with all those teams that are applying pressure to them. I mean, they're seeing the team comp, right? And I mean, how many other teams are running this comp in the lobby, even with anonymous mode on? I'm not sure that, you know, these teams are smart enough to know who they're fighting against. And oh, once again, so this is a situation they had before where they Valculted into potentially like a no man's land type position. You got to make sure that you're able to get to a nice POI here and not have too much heat on your tail, because as soon as teams in the lobby realize that they might have the chance to take you out, they might risk it all to do so, knowing that they're going to buy themselves another opportunity next game in doing so.
Looks like they're opting into Launchpad. Relatively risky, as is committing to any POI in Stormpoint. Lots of open ground, but if you can hold on to the height, Newcastle, of course, going to be very valuable for that. No shield swap going to come in time. Legendary Nerds go down to Powerhouse, who again, putting up a pretty decent performance, albeit in a very different way. Last time, we saw them rack up a bunch of points off of placement and zone prediction alone. Now they're showing us the other side of the coin. How many kills can they get? Turns out they've already wiped out over one squad, picking up a few extra here and there.
Yeah, I mean, they're grabbing some kill points here, and they're putting themselves in a pretty good position. They do have some distance to cover, but all the loot that they're getting, the kill points that they've acquired already, and the confidence that's got to be flowing through these guys right now. I mean, it's only got to spell good things for them, Dia. It's a game for them where they've really got a chance now to, you know, should it's Black Ops 2 or Ernie and Friends not take it right here, now we're talking about a Game 6 that could involve a team like Powerhouse.
That they've certainly been, especially being one of our few squads to run the Pathfinder. I always find it even more impressive when you're able to be near the top of the leaderboard, be consistently in endgame lobbies, and also be running a composition that is totally different to anyone else. Because of that factor that you mentioned earlier, where squads recognize who you are, and also because the things that most people are running, they're running for a reason. You're running arguably in composition with different strengths and less strengths more often than not when you're opting into something like a Pathfinder. And so being able to make use of what makes you different always makes me happy to see, especially in the TELUS Esports Series.
Right, and I mean we've been championing this all along. Throughout all of our weekly streams, we saw almost every combination under the sun. We're seeing Mad Maggies, we're seeing Fuses, we're seeing Mirages in the intermediate finals. In the final circle, a Mirage nearly costed for St. Clair last week, and that's something that not a lot of other tournaments at the higher levels are going to be able to say.
I wish we had more Mirage. I really do. I will say this season, if you are a Mirage player, actually very nice. And we have seen as a result, the squad's intermediate, beginner division, recognize that, try and make the best use of it. But Ernie and friends, I'll tell you what they make the best use of. It's Mr. Mew's charge rifle. This man is unhinged with the charge rifle.
Oh yeah, I mean he's treating it like a railgun at this point. The amount of damage that he's putting out from this position, Mr. Mew's got a lot of sight lines that he can work with. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Dia. I don't love the position because it's deceptively low on cover. Teams realize that you're in this position. It's very easy to get trapped with a team below you and pressure above you. Not a lot of places to go. Speaking of not a lot of places to go, Saturn trying to get out of this one with Celebrate Our Differences. Are they going to be able to just buy themselves enough time to catapult out of this position? I'm not sure that they're going to want to, but they're going to be stuck inside this ult right now. Doesn't look like the advantage is being pressed by their opposition. It's really, they only have 2 players in this situation. Oh, this is tough for them. I mean, they're just going to use the Seer ult to scare off any opposition and try and outlast a team that may realize this is a duo up here.
Totally explains the way that they're playing, and I do wonder if Celebrate Our Differences will sniff this out. They're already starting to re-peek it, and as much information as they can gather, especially given that Celebrate Our Differences have the Seer, better. Scan's actually going to find both, and 3 might be getting pushed here. There comes the defensive Seer ultimate from them. Try and buy a little bit more space, but the first Peacekeeper shot does not go as intended, and now they are all over you. That is a really nice retake from Celebrate Our Differences.
Yeah, I mean, that was one that looked not so great for them. One that at the beginning of that engagement, you wondered, are they just going to completely disengage? Oh, Contest of Legends falls in the meantime. That's a team that was on our radar to have a game that could catapult them in. I'm not sure that falling in the 10th position is going to do it for them, Dia. That might be another heartbreaker for us here in terms of teams in that match point conversation when this one is all said and done here in Game 5.
Yeah, this is looking really tough for the teams as we continue further in these games. That mental, however, certainly staying together. We highlighted it with Celebrate Our Differences, able to retake height even when they've been set back so many times today. And I have to look at the next game and say, I imagine that we're going to get the same from many of the squads that have repeatedly put themselves in top 5 positions these past 4 games. Unfortunately, not going to happen here. Le Maitre Dennis has to reset out to the side. In comes a quick mobile respawn as he's got Master back into the game, but that is just a white flag, an advertisement for free KP, as in they come. Legit Master gonna try and survive, but how? I'm sure I can't tell you. He's got 8 packs on his tail, but the cover of a Catalyst wall doesn't actually have a weapon to fight back with yet.
It's a couple of players here on Kojiko, both masters of their own domain. Maitre does mean master en français. So that's Master Dennis and Master Legit that are currently fighting against the zone, and a team that has used that early damage to separate themselves. I mean, this is I don't think they're going to be able to do this, Dia.
And they're getting gate kept as well. Unfortunate.
That zone hurts too much at this stage in the game. You can't play in the red the same way you can early. Tim from HR goes down early, and Celebrate Our Differences once again creating a difference that they can celebrate early on in a fight here.
This is a massive turnaround for them. Celebrate Our Differences. They've actually had a really good game this time around, being able to make top 10, eliminate a squad, and even take down Tim from HR, the man himself. As they hit the bats, we'll see whether they're able to find some effective shield cancels. They haven't used their own Seer ult just yet. A defensive one has been thrown out on the low ground, and as we can see, Tim from HR is back in the game. It's something Celebrate Our Differences will assume, but is it something they'll feel comfortable pushing?
Well, they know that they're healing, and the longer they wait, the less opportunity they're going to have to push this. And I don't think that they're too keen on pushing it, knowing that the team in front of them is going to have to move eventually. They can continue to just deal damage out from this high ground and play the slow game. They know what kind of game they have going here, Dia. You're absolutely right. This is definitely, you know, a turning point kind of game for them here in this evening of Apex Legends. And so they want to make sure that they're getting the most bang for their buck with what they've created so far.
Ernie and friends still up on the high ground, but on the low, Junk Dogs are scrapping. Out comes the Peacekeeper at close range, dinging for 36, but you need one more shot. Reload on the R301 gonna finish, but it's not enough. Reverend choking it up just at that last second means that Junk Dogs lose out on a member, now having to pick him back up if Hooch can survive.
Yeah, I don't think Hooch was anticipating being able to survive there. It was a bit of, you know, waited a little too long to try to use that tree as a cover. Everybody knew where he was. I think he was like wondering, wow, I'm still alive. I actually have time to attempt this. But is this Black Ops 2? Now, playing in an odd position. I mean, this is the one thing, right, with Is This Black Ops 2? They've been sort of second fiddle to Mushak all season long, but they've done so in being an aggressive team. That's been their brand, and that's been what they've stuck with. Now, how are they going to, you know, flip the script? Mr. Mew gonna knock one down. That's exactly what you want if you're Ernie and friends right now. That's your direct competition that you've now put on the back foot. Trying to get the res off. They should be able to do so. Not a ton of pressure. Oh, no!
Oh! Mr. Mew's charge rifle is just built different. Taking the portal back. We'll finally get the res off, but that's some serious timer burned out of Oski. As if you get knocked again, you got that much less time till you bleed out, and you've got that much less time to rotate. Oski again goes down. The zone is ticking. Black Ops 2 are gonna die out in the open, as again, Mr. Mew's charge rifle has the opportunity to find them, and he's not the only one. There are plenty of teams that should be looking at Is This Black Ops 2. They're even shooting one of them in the back, and now finally, Berserk gets noticed. Peter takes him down with a 301, and in the water Is This Black Ops 2. I want to say the dirt, but realistically, they're just hydrating till next game.
Is there going to be a next game? That's the question, Dia. Ernie and friends now all of a sudden, once again, they've done it. This is the third time tonight out of the 5 games we've played where they've put themselves in a position where it's their game to lose. All they have to do is just continue to sit here and let Mr. Mew feed with that charge rifle and continue to put themselves in an even better position. They've got high ground. Who else in the server does right now? There's 7 squads left, and everybody's going to be looking at them. Even the Valkyrie coming in here isn't going to be enough to take them off of this bridge. As all these other teams are duking it out, Ernie and friends just has to sit here and be the beneficiaries of waiting for that final fight that could give them the championship here in the beginner division.
I want to sell you doubt, Crackshot. I want to tell you that there's going to be another game, but there's no way that we can do it. Ernie and friends have so often overcome the barrier of having to jump down into other teams, and now, as you say, with so much distracting from them, with Apes even throwing out a few souls, everyone in the lobby has got to be looking out at this fight in the south of Launchpad. Well, Apex do farm it up. They have had an incredible game number 5 so far. Will that be enough? In they come, pushing over the top. Dr. Chef Boyardee getting taken out. No more Gibraltar, no more Mirage, and only 5 teams left.
Even more damage being done here. 8-Pack's gonna be between a rock and a hard place, but they're getting so much damage done here. They are thriving in the chaos right now. As every team in the lobby looking at them, I'm surprised that they have the amount of health left that they do. They are not long for this world, Dia. There's teams to their left and to their right. Oh my goodness, this Peacekeeper is singing. So much damage being dealt right now. This is huge from 8-Packs, but ultimately it was never going to be enough as Mushak, 2 members to the good at this point, and they are in the zone. They are able to stay alive. Wawa has fallen, and there's another player here that they can take down for good measure. That's another kill point. Down 4 squads left. One of them is Ernie and friends. This could still very well be the last game of the night.
Apes have lost out on a member, but Ernie and friends have as well. We've got the new castle to try and reconcile this, make it a little bit better. White knockdown shield isn't what you're looking for, and from behind, we've still got celebrate your differences. Apes, go down. That's top 3 now. Celebrate your differences. Still actually in a good position, and most importantly, in a spot to sandwich Mushak. But I believe they're operating as a 2-man. We haven't gotten full visual confirmation on it just yet, but Mushak and celebrate your differences are going to have to work together in some sort of sick way to eliminate Ernie and friends, who may very well be the last trio. Peter takes the swing. Do Ernie and friends get to capitalize?
That's the question, right? I mean, they're being pressured. The sandwich is on, but it's 2 and 2 on either side. So, I mean, this bread is not very thick, Dia. There's not going to be a lot that they're going to be able to do, and it's just going to come down to timing. A player goes down on Celebrate Our Differences. That's Saturn to fall, and it's all on Peter Band now to see if he can get his teammate up in this situation. Trying to put some pressure on is going to be Mushak. They've done that too. Ernie and friends, Panasmax the last. As Celebrate Our Differences falls in the meantime, Mushak knows there's only one player left, and it's going to be Mushak who take this game and send us to a game 6.
No way, Crackshot. No way it works like this. The fact that Ernie and friends were just 2 squads, not even full squads, away from the win, and it's Mushak who deny them, who push us to game number 6. There's just, I couldn't write this any better.
That's a statement piece right there from Mushak. You know, they're strong players. You know, by their own accord, they wouldn't disagree with me in saying it's not been the night that they wanted to have. But a game like that, imagine the storyline. This is sort of where you start to ask yourself, do you smell that? Do you smell the comeback potential here? I said it out loud. Can I cast or curse it into happening? Who knows? The kill spread very different in this game from last. The story is very different here. Ernie and friends with the 2nd place finish. What does it matter? They've already got match point. Mushak with the 1st place and the 9 points though. That matters.
Yeah, this is a massive game for them. From 17 points, they're going to be getting very, very close to a match point. And we will get the chance to see exactly how close they are when we come back. Before we throw it to a break, though, I do want to take a second to remind everybody that what we've got going on here at the TELUS Esports Series isn't the only incredible thing that TELUS is doing. We've also got the TELUS Future Friendly Foundation. TELUS is an independent registered charity that supports the well-being of youth facing obstacles. They support local charities with their donations, making sure that your money goes to the causes that really matter. So feel free to donate into this great foundation by typing the command !TELUS Foundation and learning a little bit more about how you can help, and TELUS can help you help everybody else. Well, while you consider that, we're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back with game number 6.
They're on a car.
Yeah.
We're on a high-speed chase.
They're running. Face him.
Yo, what's going on?
Crack.
What is this game?
I'm lagging.
Jag vill smängvägga den. Go down. Je tombe dessus, Il est sur le pad, il est mort. Go down. Chill.
Oh no, down here, bro. 3. Actually 3. I down 1. Doctor cracked the ball. Will you shoot the catalyst? She's down. I'm gonna grenade her. One more in the corner.
Yep.
Then
He's one.
I got her.
Box ulting.
I got 3.
Nice.
Out there. Last one. Last team.
Nice. Lots fence, and fence is my king. Bronze Bonobos, they're popping in on the other end of this engagement. Seeing if they do, Molten Mania almost completely shreds a red shield, starts to make this impossible, and what an angle! Not have a lot of cover, but I believe have a little bit of low ground.
Never mind.
Play maybe a head peek, and oh my lord! The dreams of yet another cut short.
Again, how do you push this without putting your team in too much jeopardy? That's the question.
So few legends that can actually find you a different way up there. Horizon being one, Pathfinder being right now, but here it comes. Shinbi's already put this out, and it means that Big Smashers get to take the fight up against the two-man squad of level 4 Gucci Purse and wipe the floor with them, along with Lane as well. I mean, LTB got a lot of competitive experience here. The thing, they don't have a ton of cover proficiency. Lane left wondering what the next move is going to do, trying to push Marsh next nearly as well as the crafted Volt that Marsh has. Up goes the Catalyst Wall. It forces out the Seer ult, and Wee Poutine are going for the end here. Take the swing on Molten Mania, and yet he gets knocked. Pergix fighting back as Wee Poutine do trade in the 1-for-1. Proton gets some good damage down with the R99, and it is enough. It is enough to push them out. The Bronze Bonobos have to drop down, have to take this 2v2 against the Milkers, and now a chance to drop down to play this Wraith knockdown shield. They keep him down, and yet Bronze Bonobos have cover as well. 2 versus 1, and it should be their game. The Bronze Bonobos from second, now finally find first. We've already done this a couple times today, so I'm sure you all know what time it is. It's time to take a look at the leaderboards before we jump into our next game. Our next game, notably, Crackshot, going to be Game 6, and that means that it is the final game on Stormpoint before we inevitably make our way back to World's Edge. Unless Ernie and Friends, or is this Black Ops 2, take first place now.
A third crack at it for Ernie and Friends, a second crack at it for Is This Black Ops 2. And I mean, the question is, how long is it going to take for either of these teams? Because again, you know, I'm not even going to say it this time, but for Apes, as well as the thing that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to jinx it, it's just going to take, you know, 1 or 2 points here to get there, to get to that match point, to have a chance when we flip back to World's Edge. Should we see a Game 7 tonight? Is, you know, when we flip back, is there going to be more than 2 teams in the conversation, or is this it right here? I mean, this is what we're waiting to see. Mushak, notably, in the same amount of time, they just need another, you know, performance where they get 12 points, and all of a sudden, they're also on match point. And Mushak, a team, you know, 12 points sounds like a lot, but for a team that has just caught fire, that was in first place almost the entire split, as you said, that's not a tall task for this team, especially if they come back with a vengeance like they did in that game. I mean, that game saved it not only for themselves, but for everybody else here as well.
Exactly, and Mushak have a lot of pressure on them, but it is something that, albeit they should be used to. This is the longest series, however, that anybody in this lobby has played until this point. 6 games is going to be double what you would normally play in their regular season, and that's got to be weighing on quite a lot of squads. Mushak evidently are able to pick things up at the tail end, but how many other squads are having upticks in their performances now, as opposed to starting to lose a bit of momentum as we approach the end?
I mean, that's the question that's really going to be ultimately answered here. In front of us is You know, again, I come back to it before every game. It's about the mental, right? It's about how do you reset going into the next game, because it's the consistent teams that are going to buy themselves the best chance at taking the beginner division today. Is Ernie and friends going to be able to get themselves, if they can keep getting themselves into the top 3 or getting these power positions at the end of games, you really got to like their chances, and it's hard to root against them. Is this Black Ops 2, a team known for their aggression, now has to flip and play a bit more passive and really try and strategize where they want to end up when all of this end game fighting goes down? We'll see if they're able to do it here as we load into this final game on Stormpoint.
I love that you bring up the positioning specifically from Is This Black Ops 2, because that is the difference maker for them in last game specifically. Trying to make their way into Launchpad late, it killed them, as it killed so many other teams. But that's how thin the margin for error is that it comes down to these small mispositionings, to the late rotations, as to whether even a team at the top of their game in the TELUS Esports Series is able to actually find the win in any individual match. Now, with this game, we are going to be pulling completely separately. We're going this time over into the west, and plenty of opportunity for this to pull into Cascade, Jurassic, Prowler Island, Mill, Downed Beast. That's anybody's guess. The fact for it remains, however, that it's going to be in very different rotations for a lot of these teams, especially squads like Mushak.
We saw some creative car usage in our intermediate finals, and I'm sure Zesty is just using it for some quick transportation over to this replicator here. Gonna join up with his team, and it looks like they're gonna go for this arsenal here. Are they? Oh wait, this isn't an arsenal.
Very likely. They've got time to hit the IMC. I think Mushak likely going to do it, since much like Black Ops 2, they're a squad that is quite aggressive, that thrives in being able to take these 3v3s with confidence, and that means better shields, it means better loot, it means putting yourself in the best position to win before you start these raw engagements that they like to take. So slow looting process as ever over by Fish Farms, turning into hopefully so much more. I really like the pickup of the Devo there as well, since as you're hitting the IMC on your way out, you're likely going to pick up a turbocharger.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm thinking they positioned themselves in this spot to do just that, and to move over into that armory and just try and really set themselves up here. Because you got to imagine they get out of that armory and they're going to start just farming teams on the way into, their rotation that they decide to take in towards the zone that is over on the western side of the map at this point. Ernie and friends doing much the same thing, maybe not to the same degree, but they're going to at least, yeah, you can see, I mean, they're using everything at their disposal to really try and figure out what's going to happen with these zone scans, and it's been part of their game plan all night, Dia. I can't imagine that it's going to change here with, everything that's at stake. They made it to top 3 last time. They made it to top 2 last time. I mean, they were very, very close to just ending the night for all of us. Is this something that, are the other teams in the lobby going to allow this to keep up? Because as soon as you let them get to that position, now all of a sudden it's an uphill battle. And I don't think anybody last game was really willing to bite the bullet, head up and shut them down early. It's a tough ask to get into these power positions in the first place, but they do it so early, right? And they were doing it before they were on match point, that it's not really going to be a hard thing for them to do. And so that's what sort of bodes well for them, and it would scare me if I'm another team in the lobby.
I love that them knowing that as well, knowing that, they put themselves in power positions, they've practiced it clearly, because they're making use of the replicator just to make sure they've got enough meds to last the whole night. That was bat after bat after bat just being ripped out of the replicator. And as they make their way into zone, we haven't actually seen the guns yet, but I imagine Mew has a charge rifle because they've had one every game. And now we'll start to see that pay off. As they have more shield heals than everyone else around them, they'll be able to level up those white shields that they've currently got and really make something of themselves in the late game.
Is this Black Ops 2? Is this a game they're going to win? I mean, this is the question. Is this one the Black Ops 2 game? And this game, notably, compared to previous games, we saw a lot more early engagement, a lot more early contesting. Teams are quite obviously changing up their drop spots, and that's kind of expected as the night goes on for teams to change their strategy, but completely avoiding engagement. Oh, that's Icky Yami going down, and Zesty Sausage.
Oh no, this is bad. Especially if you're seeing not one, but two go down. Mushak are probably on the way out, and that was a team that only 12 points away.
Oh.
There we go. Are gone. They're our first squad eliminated in the 6th game of the night. They won't be hitting match point. They only had 12 points needed to get there, but again, they're just kept at arm's length.
Yeah, I'm imagining that, we can only imagine. We gotta do a little visualization. Let's paint a picture for the audience here. They're a team that just came off a huge win. They're high on the energy of it. They're feeling good. They're like, okay, let's find a team and let's get some more points. Let's continue to close this gap. And then one thing in that fight goes the wrong way. Everybody in this lobby, this is the strongest teams across the entire division. We saw this, what can happen in intermediate, where it being anyone's game. Anybody can take down anybody in a lobby. There are no more Titan teams. It just doesn't go their way there.
Speaking of things we've seen in previous games, zones like this, Ernie and friends just walking right through Sisser, do take them down. Pretty easy pickup of a singular kill as mispositioning gets punished very quickly. However, Ernie and friends, this is not their biggest problem. Walking through the squads ahead of them, not nearly as concerning as what they're going to do when they actually get their pick of the zone. The intermediate division actually has zones like this for us, pulling right over into checkpoint and then ultimately splitting the difference between sides of the hill. Ernie and friends are going to have to pick, and pick soon, where they think this is pulling, and it's something that a lot of teams are going to get wrong. Ooh, that's a nice interrupt.
Good interrupts there. I mean, we've seen Ernie and friends, just an absolute turret squad. They're going to put a charge rifle in Mr. Mew's hand. I almost guarantee it. They're going to just let that bad boy do the work for them. Yeah, I mean, what else do you really need to do at this point? Ernie and friends just need to, choose their rotation, but there's pressure. Nope, cannot go up the building just yet. Mr. Mew, they'll continue to load up, but notice this, right? This is an early fight, and I'll say this before all hell breaks loose. They look really comfortable. You see a lot of players just hopping around aimlessly in buildings right now. You know exactly where their weak points are. Okay, maybe not, as now that door's gone.
The big problem for Ernie and friends in this engagement specifically is that there are two teams. There's one on either side. Well, they got a singular kill earlier, and while they've expended relatively few meds to stay in this, the fact that they're facing pressure from both sides of this building means that that early Valcult, that early rotation that you talked about, is being denied. They're not going to die very soon, but they need to find a way to actually play their game, and this catwall is an excellent way to do it. Disengaging straight down into the bunker, way out of the zone, in a place that nobody should follow them. They not only get a sick rotation, but a gold helmet as well. Don't mind if I do.
When it works for you, it works for you. They've got a play style, they've stuck to it, and the Apex gods reward them in this situation. They're going to have a fairly easy rotation now into the zone. I can imagine there is a spot that I see currently on the map that I can imagine they're going to try to go to, and we'll see if Celebrator Differences can interrupt that path, as they do have eyes on. Some damage coming out here. The Nemesis doing a little damage, but Celebrator Differences has now drawn some unwanted attention onto themselves here, and here comes the Valcult. They'll head probably straight over the mountain. No, okay, they're gonna go. I thought they were gonna try to fly left, to be honest.
They have left Ernie's Gambit behind. This is a problem. This is not good. We'll see if he's able to group up with the team. It does look like the Prowlers have left him alone for now.
Oh, is
So
that
Ernie
what
and friends-
happened?
I think so.
Oh,
Production told me. I didn't see it, so.
He got hit by a Prowler,
Uh-huh.
and so he does not get to join his friends. That's sad
Looks
for
like
Ernie.
he's okay.
I think he's going to be all right. It's just, it's Ernie and friends. It's not just in friends. So it's like, it feels
If
bad.
not friend, why friend shaped?
Haha,
Well, they've grouped up now. Actually, very similar position to what they were in before. Celebrate our differences. Gonna be coming up behind them. I think they actually pinged out where Ernie and friends rotated, but they've got the Valk passive confirmation on it just now. Should be relatively safe play from both of these squads. We're still waiting for everyone to upgrade off of whites, as Panasmack does still have the napkin as the only thing between them and the rest of the lobby. Charge rifle actually could cause some serious problems in that department, so mobile shield gonna be a very welcome boon. So Ernie and friends continue unabated to just walk through, use these rocks as cover, and honestly, good on them, because they're pushing into a much more desirable part of the map to play. Does look like we're going a little more central towards checkpoint, but playing on the outside of Downed Beast has a lot of longevity to it.
They played on the outside in the past, and it's worked out for them. They still, a little bit of looting left to do for these guys, as they, again, their style, it's, there's never too much that you can have in terms of med and ammunition for how they want to play, and they can kind of play the backside of this rock here. It's a decent position to be in for Ernie and friends at this point. And one thing of note, did they just leave someone behind again?
No, they're good. They're good.
They're good this time. I thought it was an ult. I thought I saw an ult out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, you got to bring everybody. Okay, Mr. Mew. Let's see it.
One more. Doesn't get it. It's hard. I tried the 2x wingman myself, and when we've talked about the differences between my wingman and that of these players, it's tough. 2x wingman is a grind. Now, Ernie and friends, I will say, are having probably the luckiest rotations of their lives. They're very good players, that's to be sure. But the fact that they've rotated once and found a gold helmet, another time and found a purple shield, that's uncanny. Geriatrics, for their part, don't seem to be getting so lucky, as ROM was knocked. Gonna have to expend some meds and likely the doc. Maybe it's just a med kit to get them back into the game, but just like that, instantly knocked again. That's the danger healing on the outside.
Should be able to get the res off. I don't see the pressure coming in just yet, so the res is going to come off, but now there's the pressure. Unmuzzled opens the door and is going to deal some damage. He's going to deal out the hurt right now as the Geriatrics, 13th place. I think that'll do it for them. They will be able to get the match point on that, I believe, and a knock, and that could just be for guaranteeing it. It could be just making sure. Nothing guarantees you that 1 point, like making sure a player goes down that you knocked. Rose in a bit of an odd spot now, is Unmuzzled the only player left, and Cyrexian able to get off that full med kit. The battle continues. Rose falls. It's Powerhouse. Yeah, they're cleaning it up. I mean, my question is, there's Cyrexian. I was wondering where this battle lifeline went, continuing to do damage and knock players down. Not going to be long for this world, but that should be the point in hand that they needed in order to get match point on the next one, should it be required. Now, again, should it be required, 11 squads left, 2 of which are still in the running to take it right here.
It's so scary, and we can't even call it till we get into the end games as well, because you and I have both seen how last game played out, and it really can go any way, but Ernie and friends are putting themselves in a great spot. Up on the high ground, they're continuing to play out a Downed Beast really effectively, and remember, they've got the Newcastle and Valkyrie. Their biggest threat, actually, is going to be zip lines, climb-ups from behind them, because nobody can challenge Ernie and friends from the front.
Yeah, you're not going to charge straight up the hill to your doom. I mean, that's the thing, right? How are you going to be able to do that without, essentially giving up on the fight? Got to be careful here, Mr. Mew. You don't want to expend too much here, taking a duel with the wingman against the charge rifle. But again, it's early days still here. There's still a lot of time left in this game. I'm going to try to knock down the perk box if he can. I don't know.
I guess they weren't able to find him a charge rifle. He just takes whatever sniper ammo he can. Whether it's charge rifle, whether it's wingman, it's like, well, I'd like the charge rifle, but wingy will do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a player who can aim, Mr. Mew, and one thing that I will say in this tiny bit of downtime that we got here is, a lot of teams are going to be prepared for situations where they've got to run and they've got to fight, because that's what you do in Apex. You run and you fight. But when you have to run and your goal isn't necessarily to kill the team that's chasing you, your goal is to just survive, and you're just trying to win at the end of the game. You're just trying to be part of that conversation in that top 5. There's not going to be a ton of practice for these players in playing that. So, you know, maybe Ernie and friends are just built for this type of game, and it's really benefiting their play style that they're showing. They're quite used to playing, and they're comfortable doing so.
Yeah, the match point brings out very different strengths than regular season games, although there is a lot of overlap, and there's a reason why not every day is match point. When we do get down to it, being able to play end games, being able to find the win is what Apex Legends is all about. That's what a battle royale boils down to. It isn't who can get the most points in 6 games, in 7 games, and I don't care how many. It's who can find a win. And that's what the game has always been based on. It's one of my favorite things about Match Point, is that it takes everything and boils it right back down to fundamentals. We're Celebrate Our Differences being boiled down. We'll see to what. Peter having to back down onto the low ground, pop the bat. Not going to get this one interrupted, but a tether does land. This time onto Saturn, and Celebrate Our Differences play out of the low ground here. Not the best position, but a salvageable one for now. Saturn walks through the thermite. It's again going to be a couple cells, and on the back foot, Maggie Ball comes out. They're being zoned so hard.
Peekaboo. There's players right on top of them, and I'm not sure that they were quite aware of this, and this could spell the end here. Even Kojiko trying to do some damage. They're getting the wrong end of the stick, though, not even able to get the knock. Apes falls in the meantime, and that should be the end of Kojiko as well. Although Celebrate Our Differences, they've now got ground to cover, a player who's down, and a zone that is going to continue to eat away at them.
No time to res, unfortunately. Super Chicken gonna be watching this one from the gray screen, seeing how the team plays it out, and it's that much harder to win an end game, but still a decent amount of points collected. As Kojiko tried to make the push work, didn't quite happen. Is this Black Ops 2 playing conservatively? They know, much like the team on height, that all they need to do is find this win. Doesn't matter how many kills, doesn't matter how hard the road is. They just need to find themselves in first place.
And they've got the comp to do it at this point. They can continue to replace these walls and continue to just do chunk damage. Look at all of the meds around them, a couple shield swaps potentially. I mean, this cover's getting eaten away though. I'm not sure that they chose the best building, not that there's a lot to choose from in this final circle here. They're being swarmed right now. They're being circled like a pack of wolves around them, and they don't want to overextend. They know that they need to survive these engagements, and they're happy to let teams just play around the outside of them, but you gotta wonder, how close are they going to allow teams to get? It's tense.
That's really bad as well. You see the Cyril go down on the opposite side of the wall, and even though you can see it, you can't destroy it. Oski taking the swing to make it happen, saving the team with that move, but Powerhouse almost managed to just turn that situation around. All Day does go down, but they lose Syrup Chugging Champ, and now it's just Carl left. As pushing around the outside of this building, you can see why Down to Beast is so deadly.
Some damage out from Carl, trying to get a knock if he can. There is a res potentially available to him. It's not available. It is not open for business. He's gonna have to try to use this box to his best of his ability. Get a Pathfinder ult, and this is some heroics if I've ever seen it. He drops on another player who's not even gonna expect him.
He's got it.
No way. Did he get that
doesn't
kill?
quite get the thirst. No, he didn't. 8 packs, still alive, still with that res available to them. Ernie and friends have just one member left. That's big, and they're gone! Leaving just Is This Black Ops 2 as the team that can win, but they lose Oski! Intensity gonna take the swing here, finds one, finds the second, takes out 8 packs! They're in the top 5, and they're getting swung on by another squad. Ragnarok go down, and Oski needs to be rezzed, and he needs to be rezzed yesterday. Is This Black Ops 2 make the top 4?
They make the top 4. No one's close enough to really punish this at this point. Not sure that anybody's going to be able to, and this is working out in their favor right now for Is This Black Ops 2 as Celebrate Our Differences goes down in the meantime. Now only 2 teams separate them and the Beginner Division Championship here in the TELUS Esports Series 2.
Contest of Legends now finding themselves face to face with Is This Black Ops 2. It's hard to decide which side of this Catalyst wall to play. Alpha Zero just trying to bide some time. Next zone actually pulling very close to is this Black Ops 2, but they, unlike so many squads that came before them, don't have a Newcastle, don't have Gibraltar, don't have Sustain, but my god, do they have 301 beams. Out comes that Bangalore ult, zoning is this Black Ops 2 away, and they do the very same thing with their Catalyst. Berserk rounding the corner, pumping for 99! This could be a squad wipe, or it could be the downfall of is this Black Ops 2. Does he overswing? He does not! Epic Escapers go down! Is this Black Ops 2 are in the final two? It's them! And Contest of Legends to see if Black Ops 2 can end it all right now. YOLO Jacket's on the push. Black Ops 2 are separated. They group up, but Oski has no shields. YOLO Jacket getting beamed. It's 100 damage, and the Peacekeeper comes out. Berserk is holding it down, but Oski bites the dust. YOLO tries to push up, and Berserk with no shield, with one shot left of the Peacekeeper, doesn't take him down. It's the 301 with 2 bullets, and he doesn't get it. Contest of Legends. Contest of Legends. Keep us going.
Just not enough fuel in the tank. You saw that Peacekeeper sing for is this Black Ops 2. You saw the damage they were able to do, but ultimately it spelled demise for them. They tried to rotate behind the wall. They had some beams in them. A Contest of Legends, when push came to shove, they're going to keep us going here tonight, Dia. We're going right back to World's Edge. This is exactly what you expect in a match point format. Both teams, now we've got Ernie and friends who've had a shot at it. Now we've had It's Black Ops 2 with a shot at it in the final two, and neither able to get the job done.
It has been so silly close. Oh my god. Imagine you had 2 bullets in 301. One more bullet could have changed everything. And that is taking a toll. The fact that it's been 3 games on match point, and not a single one has gone Ernie and friends' way. Not a single one has gone is this Black Ops 2's way. It's got to be wearing on them. And as we jump back to World's Edge, I don't know. I cannot tell you, Crackshot, how it's going to go. But what I can say is that we're going to find out pretty darn soon. Let's take a break. Let's grab some water. Let's prepare ourselves for game number 7 back on World's Edge.
My name is V Roses.
My name is Tay.
My name is Matt, otherwise known as Zilla.
Actually, my coworker who inspired me to get into Apex. Currently, I'm a competitive Apex player for the St. Clair Saints at St. Clair College. I played Apex casually since Season 7 for a couple seasons, and I peaked Masters twice, and I didn't really think about it until when I moved here and I found SEC.
What started me in my journey as a content creator was my competitive side. I used to play soccer, so you just get this rush, and you're like, oh, I want to be part of something bigger or like better, see where it could take me, you never know.
Probably about a year ago, I was just playing games for fun since I was 11 or 12, but back on console. When I got my computer, it just opened up a bunch of new possibilities, and I had a lot of friends throughout Winnipeg that were associated with like Lotus 8. They needed somebody to play Apex, and that was the game that I was spending most of my time on.
My advice to aspiring competitors would be to put yourself out there. I know us gamers, we're pretty introverted, but networking and showcasing your skills online really helps, especially when it comes to getting recognition and putting your name out there.
Honestly, just be yourself and being consistent. I feel like consistency is like one of the biggest things because people like seeing consistency. For competitors, muscle memory, like sometimes before I go to bed, I go in the firing range and I practice so I can keep the muscle memory of like the patterns of the guns, the recoil patterns.
My advice for aspiring competitors would be to follow your dreams. Anybody can do any of this pro player stuff. Anybody can be anyone they want to be. Practice a lot. Find a good group of people who are willing to do that with you and have mutual goals.
World's Edge.
World's Edge.
World's Edge. That's it. I'm a Wraith main. I love World's Edge. I love my buildings.
World's Edge.
World's Edge, of course. I'm a caustic main.
R301.
The flatline does so much damage. The hip fire is insane. Now it's 10 times better than the R301. Definitely the flatline.
R3.
Flatline.
R301 every day of the week.
Oh, 100% the card.
Volt.
That's tough.
Car.
Car.
I'm gonna have to go with the Volt. 3x on the 301, the Hemlock, or the Charge Rifle.
2x Bruiser.
2 times Bruiser.
2 times HCOG.
The 2 to 4 is insane. It used to be the 3 times, but now it's a 2 to 4.
I like the Assault class.
Assault.
Oh, Wraith. Oh, my baby girl, she got a buff, and the animations with her hands look so good. I was like, oh my god, they spoiled her. I was so happy.
I'd definitely say Controller is my favorite, mainly because I am a caustic main.
Probably the controller. I'm more of a zone type player as well as an anchor, so control would be great for me.
We're about to jump into our 7th game of the night. Excuse me. Oh my god. It has been a long one. Not just for us, but for these teams who are playing Crackshot from across Canada.
Oh yeah, across Canada, and again, that was one of the challenges that TELUS is looking to take on here with this event, is that we've got to encapsulate the entire West Coast with the entire East Coast. I can imagine if we've got any gamers right now out from the Nova Scotia region, the far parts of Quebec and New Brunswick, you've got the far East Coast provinces. It's going to be a late one, and it's already a late one for us here in the Eastern time zone. I can imagine it's going to start to creep up on prime gamer hours for the West Coast friends, but what we're creeping up on is an inevitable end to this one. Now, 4 teams in match point territory, Dia.
With Contest of Legends barely punching their ticket as well. We look back on last game, the one that they clutched up on Storm Point, and a win as opposed to second place gets you 3 points. It's that win alone that pushes them into match point eligibility. It's them, Geriatrics, Ernie and friends, and Is This Black Ops 2, who surprisingly have taken first place away from Ernie and friends after their visit to Storm Point.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game that I think, Is This Black Ops 2 could have won. Ernie and friends didn't have the same success. They were in a power position, but ultimately, you can only get so lucky for so long with how the circles were pulling there, and it did not pull in their favor. They got stuck in the open and not able to really find any cover. And the cover that they've shown that they performed so well behind ultimately ended up being their downfall in the fact that they didn't have anyone. Push came to shove. Is This Black Ops 2 was able to thrive a little bit more in that environment, and they catapult themselves into first place. Again, not that it matters too much for any of these teams, but when it comes to match point, you got the team that wins, and then it's the points after that. So again, we're looking for the top 3 here today for prizing in case anybody has forgotten. So Ernie and friends and Is This Black Ops 2 continue to widen that gap by finishing high in these end games as other teams look to try and put themselves in the conversation. Contest of Legends, the Geriatrics, they've got a shot here. If it doesn't end there, you can only imagine that Apes is going to enter the fold as well here as we return to World's Edge.
Now, World's Edge, also the domain of Ernie and friends. They've won 2 out of the 3 games that we've played here tonight. And a 66% win rate in a battle royale is pretty tough to come by. I will say that number skewed heavily by the fact that we've pulled to thermal station for both of those games, something that clearly they are comfortable with. But as we hit this map one more time, perhaps I have to say every game now, for the final time, we'll see where we end up going and how different it is from the, what was it, thermal lava fisher, very Western heavy pulls that we got in our first 3 games.
Oh, they were Western heavy pulls, all right. I mean, like we've saw a lot of games ending towards that thermal station. The Mirage Etoile, Lava Fisher at one point became, basically a graveyard, and in that 3rd game, I believe, on World's Edge the first time around. Now we're seeing World's Edge back with a vengeance for the next, at least this game, and 2 more if we need them.
Now, Countdown again has a beacon there. A beacon that will allow you to pull and figure out where the next zone is going to be. Ernie and friends have made great use of that in the first couple games of the day. I expect them to do it again. Mr. Mew's already, in fact, in position to do so. The other indicator of success that we're always looking for from Ernie and friends is a charge rifle.
Yeah, that's definitely, of the keys to victory is what we'll call it for them. The keys to the castle for Mr. Mew. We saw what he can do with that weapon in hand. Didn't have one to work with last time and was trying to make the wingman sing. It doesn't quite sing like it used to for some players, and ultimately the charge rifle would have been, I don't know if that it would have been too much of a difference maker, but they might have been able to put a lot more pressure on the teams between them and the zone should he have had that in his hands. So I can only imagine that they're going to continue to try to use the ground that they have here and loot up as well as they can.
Now, is this Black Ops 2? They're operating out of a slightly more central position. Another one, however, that does have the zone scan. Shoot, hide, win. Oh, no. We got another team whipping out the fuse, but somehow I don't imagine we'll be seeing them in the end game. As I Love Math needs to clutch it up. Let's see if he can do it. Oh, he does! Celebrate, our differences are down.
That's not something to celebrate, unfortunately. That's a tough way to go out in this one. As shoot, hide, win. They shot. They could not hide, but they did end up winning. And is he stuck? Okay. I thought he was stuck for a second in the corner. Not that it matters too much, but at this point in the evening, after you've been casting for so long, a lot more things become funny.
That they certainly do. I look forward to the continual evolution, or devolution, actually, might be the correct word, of the evening. Geriatric's going to be participating in that, but with their trademarked composition, one that they didn't change moving on to Stormpoint. We do see that happen sometimes where squads will choose to switch things up. Mushak certainly have been one to do so, testing out this Mad Maggie at different points in the night, but right now using Wawa aggressively as we get that ferrofluid laid out up towards the north of the map. Merble, last one standing, as Pateza does go down, and Wawa should be able to pick up this kill. No problem. Nothing you can do. Especially as Vantage, something else that we haven't been seeing from a lot of squads, but that Epicist gamers did play with last game.
At least they stayed true to their word there, but I mean, an angry Mushak team, like, that's, you know, that's a disease right there. That's mad cows. Like, it's going to be tough for any team running up against them when they know the ground that they have to make up after, you know, they have a huge comeback game. And then immediately after that, they absolutely come out flat, and they're the first team eliminated in the lobby. So good for them to get the start that they're getting, and unfortunately not the beneficiaries of it on the other side. And a player gonna go down. That's Babalu. That's tough, actually, as Rom's probably going to be able to finish that player off. So Geriatrics now going to have a kill of their own under their belt. And not that, again, in this game specifically, it's not going to matter too much. They know that there's some pressure on them. Contest of Legends is the team that actually lost the player, and they lost the second one. Contest of Legends is out already. That's only 3 teams remaining in the lobby. The Geriatrics were the other team that had just gotten match point with them. So a huge early game engagement. Not sure that Babalu really meant to start the fire that he did by opening that door. And unfortunately for them, they're going to be out, as Geriatrics is now going to be one step closer.
We've seen this with a few squads as well. Mushak is this Black Ops 2. The teams that are really fragging out today, like Contest of Legends, do so by picking fights outside of the zone that, well, ultimately, maybe aren't 50-50s, but are 60-40s, and 40% still a pretty big number to be taking a gamble with. Rose definitely taking gambles themselves with Frauds and Unmuzzled on impossible levels of HP. They may get peeked at from above, and Frauds doesn't have a whole lot they can do. That is a Sheila that is just tearing you apart. That's for cover fire, R99 for the actual finisher, and Rose, they're going to go down. Nugget picking up all 3 of those knocks as Frauds now has to play the one-man, or I suppose I should say one-woman army with the Catalyst. Icarus going to be the ones to pick up those kills. Rose go down. And this is a bloodthirsty World's Edge. This is not the World's Edge that we got in the first 3 games.
Absolutely not the World's Edge that we got in the first 3 games. I mean, the pace was picking up towards that 3rd game that we saw the first time. It's entered whole new levels here. It's looking to set world records in terms of carnage in these first few circles. Round 1 not even closed yet, and we've already seen six teams worse for wear. They're the casualties of this one. Mushak involved with some damage early, trading some bullets, but not a lot's going to come from that, I don't think.
And I don't know what was said in the pregame lobby, but we got a lot of fuse. Way more fuse than we had in the previous games. LMG certainly going to be making use of it, as this engagement won't really result in too much except for the Evos, and that's the really big thing. As we see the knock onto Zesty Sausage, we can identify Mushak out there. Certainly not too happy about this, but also can't be too concerned just yet.
Let's see here. Zesty is going to get the shield off. LMG just, again, they're just trading bullets right now. It's just, they're sending messages back and forth. They're saying, hey, we're here, you're there. Kind of reminds me of, like, you know, 2 guys just like shouting at each other across like a canyon, even though they can't really like do anything about it. You know what I mean?
Echo! 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 I'm having too much fun. I will say, with the zone pulling the way that it has this time, we did wonder what would happen with our Ernie and Friends squad that has played zone so often. Well, as it turns out, the zone's been keeping them inside, and they've been able to just sit and countdown, farm up that beacon, and as it is right now, they have more data than just about anybody else on the map. They've got some crowding over at Countdown, some crowding over at Landslide, and outside of that, it's just edge teams.
Tim from HR, somebody who I kind of expected to have, you know, more fun than they have so far today. Really wanted to get down to business as Reverend is doing some damage here. That's Wawa down there is taking some hits here. Gonna have to try to get out of this one. Damage done, and a player to fall here. That's Mushak. Sikiyami going down.
With 2 players of Mushak down, something tells me this is not their game. Not able to recover those banners anytime soon. Not going to be a great rotation, especially coming out of Epicenter when you need to come all the way over to Countdown in the surrounding region. I'm a little surprised at Ernie and Friends. There's a sniper tower just off to the east that they could be playing, and although it is still a little bit early for it, I'm surprised that they're not already posturing to take that position in the late game. It's a really interesting predict from them.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of just, I think they're letting Mr. Mew dictate the pace, and when he's got a charge rifle in his hand, like he has so aptly found here, could be key to their success, is going to continue to just, you know, punch some damage in either direction. And I think the underrated thing about doing this is, you know, for the positions that they play, the amount of information that Mr. Mew is able to gather by just looking in many different directions. Oh no, Mushak, uh-oh. That's going to be the end of it for them, and the 1 placement point on the board for them.
So 39 points now is where they'll be sat. Still not match point eligible, and now watching from the gray screen to see if we even get another game. As a reminder, Contest of Legends was eliminated, so it is just Geriatrics, Ernie and Friends, and is this Black Ops 2 who can finish today's games with a first place. However, is this Black Ops 2, they're the ones that are left playing around the edge of the map and rotating in the landslide right now. Let's see what awaits them, as there were several squads that had arrived here early.
Several squads arriving here early. And several squads that they could end up running up against if they're not careful as they try and, you know, position themselves. But they do have the seer, and there's some benefit there. They try to get some information on the survey beacon here. A bold play, if you will.
This is illegal.
Yeah, is no one going to look there? That's the question. It seems like everybody's got better things to do, just like the Geriatrics right now, who are maybe unwillingly being forced into positions where they need to fight and get some more kill points. Here again, it's not going to matter too much in this game specifically, but they could at least be in a position to, if they really finish highly, they could be guaranteeing themselves a prize. Big one from the Geriatrics. At least they're staying warm, Dia. At least they're, once this end game fight comes, you know, they're not gonna be cold on the keys at this point.
The underrated thing about getting older, you know, you got to stay warm at all times. ROM certainly does that. The reaction time on the Peacekeeper was simply beautiful as they rocketed out of that door. Minute left. The rotation gonna bring them over towards Countdown, and interestingly enough, with the way that this is sorting out right now, there are only two options for Geriatrics who aren't running a Valkyrie. They can rotate around into Countdown and face off against one of our other teams on match point, Ernie and Friends, or they can put themselves in the tunnel coming out of Skyhook. Not an enviable position, but one that very well may be less crowded. This is what I like about Battle Royales. We talked about this earlier. They're balancing risk and reward here.
Absolutely balancing risk and reward, and Junk Dogs in a position now they can do some damage, but I don't know, you can't really hang around here too long waiting for the portal, and that should be enough to get them at least into the zone where Tim from HR is going to at least spot this Val cult coming out. Not going to do anything about it, but just going to watch it happen. And as they try to reposition, and the Junk Dogs are going to try to see if they can be the, I think in this position, the best thing you can do is try to be a thorn in the side of one of the teams that is trying to win it. You know, it's going to be easy to recognize just from based on how they're playing alone. That's a charge rifle in a high ground position. Would not be surprised for him to think that that might be the opposition known as Ernie and Friends. It is not in this case, but continuing to try to put some ground between them and those firing bullets at him forever and trying to make it around the rock if they can. Tim from HR, they're covering so much ground here, and they are probably going to be able to heal up.
Now, I will say, not a whole lot of heals left for them. Ragnarok, I believe the team that was actually chasing them, now going to get sent on as ROM picks up some kills, and the Geriatrics continue to play edge with extraordinary effectiveness. We talked about the decision that they had to make, and well, they've certainly made it. Exiting through the landslide, through the Skyhook tunnel, and making their way ever closer to the sniper tower that sits directly in the center of this zone. Mr. Mew got his charge rifle!
Yes, he did. Let's give him a round of applause. I mean, he's been working with it for a little so far in this game, and seeing if he can make it sing the way he has in previous games. And Black Ops 2, a charge rifle of their own, a high ground position, and a team being forced out from the zone is something that they're going to like to see as they can continue to try to dwindle numbers under the bridge, as the Red Hot Chili Peppers might say. Not as ideal as this team may like down here with War Shotgun and Dioscurry just hanging out down there.
You know, Red Hot Chili Peppers came to Vancouver like 2 days ago was.
Oh, welcome to Vancouver.
Yeah, had a banger concert.
Oh, did you go?
I did not. I did.
Was it fun?
It was in, what's the arena called? I'm forgetting the arena. We have an arena for the Canucks. Or, what is it? Arena...
It's a hockey arena.
I gotta get it. It's Rogers Arena.
There you go. I was letting you go. I was letting you have that one, you know. Hockey guy.
I don't watch hockey. I'm a terrible Canadian when it comes to real sports. Great Canadian when it comes to esports.
We'll call them traditional sports. You know, this is a level of competition. They can't. Oh, no. Okay, so see now, Mr. Mew, look at the information he's gathering. He's scaring teams off with the rifle, or the charge rifle that he's had in the past, scaring teams off on both sides. And I mean, a pretty nice position for them to be in. I know that they're not quite in the zone, but there's only 2 entry points here, both pretty easily covered.
That's a nice drill. Ernie and friends aren't really likely to be pushed in this position. Hard forcing a fight, not exactly the right move here, but you can keep pressure on these doors as 8 packs are. You could certainly find yourself 3 kills, and not just that, but maybe another game, as 8 packs have very little that they need to worry about outside of, as you said, Mr. Mew with the charge rifle. Not even operating at optimal range, just making it work because.
Gonna throw some nades into the door. It does look like Apex has had just about enough of what's gone on here in here. They're gonna fire some nades in. Oh, this is gonna get hot and uncomfortable quickly.
Newcastle providing a lot of cover right now for Ernie and friends. Remember, they've got turtling potential up the wazoo. They do manage to find just a little bit more damage back before making the wide swing with the catalyst door around the outside. Ernie and friends trying to outplay, but the zone is coming in. This could be mutually assured destruction for these squads. Ernie's Gambit makes it into the ring just in time, and Superhero sends himself into the rest of the zone. Panna going to be coming up right behind him, might be able to go back for the banner, is just barely in zone, but the ult is going to get canceled, and with Sniper Tower available, can Panna make it? Can Panna find safety?
I can't imagine he survives here too much longer. It's just, it takes one player. You can see somebody on his screen right now. Shist has eyes on him, but does he realize he's gonna get so many heals off here? I mean, it's still a tough ask here. 5 squads left, you're a solo. I'm wondering what's going on with where's its Black Ops 2 in all of this? That's our observers right there. Shouts out. They knew exactly where I was going.
Yeah, this is a practice team. They've been watching these games for quite a long time and know exactly what the threat is. Is this Black Ops 2 potentially to take this game? And they've pinged out the Sniper Tower. I think they know no one's there, and they're going to try and take it.
If they can get it, I mean, that's going to be some huge cover for them. They're going to
so big.
Oh, it's a gamble for the game at this point. There's not a single team in the lobby that's going to be able to stop them from getting here. And now look at all of this cover. Oh,
this is ridiculous. I will say fuses in the lobby start showing up, and this could get a little dangerous, but I believe it's only 1 that is left with only 5 teams. You have to imagine it's just the singular fuse, and as this Black Ops 2 can deal with that for a while, Ape's gonna be threatening them, as we've seen Apes do plenty before, in a game specifically over by Thermal against Ernie and friends. They harassed with the fuse, they got a lot of damage down, but they weren't able to clinch the win. Here, they absolutely have to push us to another game.
The smoke up top too. I mean, this can't be a smoke of their own. Did somebody just did a Bangalore just fire that up there? That's got to be annoying for them to deal with. Oh, that's some good damage though. Oski gonna make some punishing, and this is gonna be the question. They're just gonna hope that all these teams under them have to battle it out. This is very well played from Black Ops 2 at this point. This is super well played from them. That's a Cyrexian falls, and that's not gonna spell good news for the geriatrics at this point. Apes looking to do some damage, but nobody's going to be able to deal with this Dia. This is such good play from its Black Ops 2. This might be all she wrote for the division at this point.
We have to keep our eyes on the next zone, and is this Black Ops 2? Berserk falls it down. Now with the fuse ult coming in, is this Black Ops 2 have to deal with the squad below them? Nice knock onto All Day as geriatrics go down, and Black Ops 2 are the last squad left that can find the win today. Wraith getting away from them, and Apes surely coming in for the third party right now. Carl's gonna send it right into them. Franku already up on height. Mobile res has come in. Shist finds that knock, and it's Powerhouse down. Is this Black Ops 2 going to go up against the final boss of the lobby?
Powerhouse, they're the team that everybody in the lobby is rooting for. This Black Ops 2 knows exactly what they have to do here. Both teams a full reset and a full duel for the ship here, Dia.
Black Ops 2 don't have height. They've got no way to reclaim it. Waiting on that catalyst wall. What's going to be the right time to pull that cooldown out? Out go the nades, and Fuses enter the chat. Intensity manages to swing, find a little more damage, and find the knock along with his squad mate. Oski frying from the low ground comes on up. Ego chows it, and is this Black Ops 2 from the low ground? Steal the win, steal the beginners division of the TELUS Esports Series.
Is this Black Ops 2? It's Apex Legends, but it is this Black Ops 2 are going to be your winners here in the beginner division of the TELUS Esports Series 2. They finally claim it. You knew it was only a matter of time. They get that catalyst ult. The Valkyrie ult. They get it off. They get to the high ground. As soon as they reach that point, no one's able to touch them. They just had to bide their time and wait they did. They get it done. Congratulations to them and all the other teams that participated today. Wow, 7 games is what it took tonight.
It was the perfect call. I love that you highlight that crack shot because, as you said, that move to the sniper tower changed everything. Such a safe position, but Apes, again, very scary. We could have gone to a game 8 with one more mag, changing the course of that game. Intensity actually really coming up as a highlight on this Valkyrie, and able to swing even on 25 HP, having trust in the team, trust that it was going to work out, deal the crucial damage, and find that initial knock for Is This Black Ops 2, changing everything. And this is a team that suffered setbacks, especially early in the day, eh?
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a team that started off as hot as we thought they were going to. You know, they weren't even in the conversation games 1 and 2, and then all of a sudden they start to catch a little bit of fire. They have a decent game 3. Now we're talking about heading over to Stormpoint, where things really shifted for them and they really were able to turn their game around. You can't say that the other teams didn't have a chance, maybe a little bit less so for the Geriatrics and Contest of Legends. Ernie and friends had, you know, a ton of chances there, but ultimately things just not going their way. They turtled a little too long. And Is This Black Ops 2 capitalized on the momentum that they had built? They made a split-second decision that ended up winning them the game. And that's what match point format's all about. At this point, we're 7 games deep. I'm tired. I know you're tired. I can only imagine how these guys playing in these very, very intense games. We're talking about 5-minute breaks in between them. That's 7 games of Apex Legends. With all of this on the line here in the beginner division, you know, hats off to them for being able to make that decision in the moment and being able to own up to it, and really just like, hats off to them for winning it, because they went out and they took it, you know, that they didn't wait for it to come to them necessarily.
And it really is the best part of Apex Legends, is that build-up that we get going into the match point format, seeing how many teams can make it out. And Is This Black Ops 2 were the last squad left that could have done it. And you know that Apes knew it because you're watching the kill feed. You're checking teams off the list. And when it comes down to those final 2 squads, the pressure is on. The longest day that the beginner division has ever experienced is this match point format. And they have crushed it. The improvement that we've seen throughout the season, Crackshot, it really got to shine here as Canadians from really all over the country got to show us how much they can do in a competitive esports environment.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. You know, from week 1, we got to see it on broadcast week 1. We saw the quality of teams and the things that have changed from then to now. Teams learning about competitive team comps, how to play these final circles, how to ensure that they're gaining the most points possible and put themselves in a position to win. I mean, it's night and day, and you know, the fact that these players are able to help each other do that through competition, that's what TELUS Esports Series is all about, and that's exactly what we want to see going into the future from TELUS Esports Series. So happy that everybody from Twitch and YouTube and Optic TV were able to stick around tonight and watch this amazing action in a truly one-of-a-kind competition. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, we want to host more of these, make more tournaments like this possible for the community. So we've got 2 very important things for you guys to do at home. Thank you, of course, for tuning in with us to watch who wins the beginner division. A big thank you to our players and to the reminders to go and give us some feedback, exclamation point feedback for what we can do better to provide the greatest experience to gamers across Canada. Alongside that, of course, you are welcome to join the conversation in our Discord. That's going to be in the links below. You guys can find that again in the chat, or if you're watching on Twitch on these panels. Thank you so much for joining us throughout these 7 games and throughout the past 4 weeks. We will be back, Crackshot, tomorrow with the advanced and open divisions starting at, I believe, 3 p.m. Pacific?
It is 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, and I gotta tell you, Dia, some very special guests. You know, some people very, very near and dear to my heart. Somebody who I even grew up. The fact that I get to share a casting desk in this tournament with somebody that I grew up idolizing in the Halo days, I'm excited. I know you are to work with these guys again as you do, and you know, I can only hope that everybody who's been tuning in for these last 2 is ready for what tomorrow has to bring. Tomorrow at the grand finals for the advanced division, and of course the all important open skills division, where really that's where it's gloves off. That is the top level of competition that you're going to find in the TELUS Esports Series. And I am so excited to watch it. I hope you guys are too. You can check it out at the same channels here on YouTube. It'll be on Twitch. It'll also be on Optic TV to watch there as well. If you have it, channel 345 out west in Canada. And I'm so excited for these finals to actually, you know, get underway. I mean, we've been waiting for this day for a long time. And, you know, tomorrow we're going to crown 2 more champions.
Yeah, lots to look forward to. But for now, I think for everyone, time to sleep. So thank you again so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow with even more of the TELUS Esports Series 2.